Chapter 581 Shanks was attacked. A wooden board floated far away on the sea, and a few figures could be vaguely seen. "Look, what is that?" a pirate called out when he spotted the plank. "It seems to be a human. Has it been shipwrecked?" A pirate with a crescent beard and a skull tattooed on his left shoulder took out a telescope, and his face changed greatly when he saw the person sitting on the wooden board clearly. "How is it possible?" The planks landed, and Luffy, Sabo, and Ace also came after hearing the news. "Shanks!" Luffy shouted to the red-haired man at the head. His excitement and joy were beyond words. "Wait, Luffy, something is wrong," Sabo said. After Sabo's reminder, Luffy also found an abnormality. Shanks was pale, his clothes were tattered, and most importantly, his left leg had completely disappeared below the knee. Luffy's eyes widened. "Shanks, how could you?" Marco was shocked. "Redhead, what happened?" "Doctor, call the doctor," Chopper yelled. Luo Shensheng said, "I'm a doctor and Dr. Chopper, you are a doctor." "Chopper, hurry up to get treatment, his condition is very bad." Even if he only glanced a few times, Luo knew that Shanks was seriously injured. "Wait, I can hold on, I have to tell you some things first, time is running out," Shanks said. "From the beginning, I planned to come to find you. You hold the key to Ralph Drew. But halfway through, I met that black dragon." Black dragon. Nami had panic in her eyes, and she immediately thought of a huge figure. That terrifying force that was as irresistible as a natural disaster still shivered a little when I thought about it. "Enel, have you met Enel as well, the red-haired one?" Luo said with a sullen face. "It seems that the Black Dragon pirates have far surpassed the other 4 Emperor pirates." "No, not the Black Dragon pirates, but him," Shanks corrected. "What? One person defeated your entire red-haired pirate group?" Ace couldn't believe it. "Hey, this is too outrageous." Usopp looked horrified. Shanks clenched his fists and his face was heavy. "That can't be called a fight at all. When we found him flying over, it was too late. It was just a face-to-face. He broke through our defense and crashed the pirates' boat. The ship was destroyed, a lot of people died, and I became like this. He didn't care about us at all. It was like seeing a group of ants on the side of the road and stepping on it. As for stepping on it, doesn't matter how many are dead or how many are alive." Shanks was a little stunned. Enel made him feel the powerlessness that he had never felt before, and many crew members died, which caused a huge blow to him. At the time of the battle with Enel didn't have that kind of strength either. But later, he has been hunting in the Windless Belt, swallowing up the vitality and soul of the Sea Kings, and constantly strengthening himself. His strength is growing at a terrifying rate every second. And with the growth of strength, his hunting efficiency is also getting higher and higher. From the beginning, it took more than a dozen mouthfuls to eat a piece of tuntun fruit, and then it was almost one mouthful. The Great Root is surrounded by 2 windless belts, one of which has been almost cleared by him. Meet Shanks when he's flying from one windless belt to another. Liar, right? This was the voice of everyone. But Shanks looked like this, so they didn't say it. They knew it was absolutely true and Shanks couldn't be joking about something like this. The scene was silent except for the sound of swallowing saliva in shock. Everyone seems to have such a picture in their minds. A huge black dragon covered the sky and covered the sun, and it was filled with the aura of destruction. The gust of wind brought by the flight caused a tsunami, and the sky and the earth changed color. He collided with the Red Foss close to the sea. The vehicle of the 4 emperors, the ship that once traversed the 4 seas, was like a nutshell under a hammer, and it was torn apart in an instant. "Ace, Luffy, that guy is not something that humans can fight," Shanks said in a hoarse and low voice. "Luffy, even if you might encounter such a monster, do you still want to be the Pirate King?" "Of course. Isn't this what we agreed on?" "Shanks," Luffy roared. Shanks squeezed out a smile. "Hey Luffy, then become one piece. The only force that can stand against him is Ralph Drew." The dark clouds dissipated, and a ray of sunshine appeared in the sky. Everyone who had already fallen into despair because of Enel's strength saw hope again. Are you serious? Ralph Drew has the power to match that monster? Ace asked. Well, it's true. When we followed Captain Roger to get there, we saw that kind of power like a god. Personally, I feel that it should be much stronger than the current Black Dragon. Huh, stronger than Enel who defeated you in that instant. Chopper's mouth widened. Robin dragged her chin in thought, listening intently. It's about Ralph Drew, and it probably also contains the truth of 800 years ago. Yo-ho-ho-ho, I even started to tremble when I heard it. Although I don't have any bones. Brooke's ghost floated in the air. Wait, if that kind of power really exists, why don't you use it? Roger wouldn't be arrested in that case. You could even overthrow the world government. Marco interrupted. It is not clear that Roger turned himself in. Ace is also a little puzzled. In the past 2 years, he has had a lot of contact with Shanks. Roger is his father, a fact that cannot be erased, although he tries to deny it. Shanks, of course, also told him a lot about what happened in front of Roger, including Roger's surrender. Roger, who Ace learned from Shanks, seems to have a lot of opinions on the current world government. If there is such a strong power, why not use it? Why not use this power to smash the shackles set on this era? That is much more reliable than using your own life as a bet to start the era of the great pirates. It's not that we can't use it, it's that we can't use it. We can't control that power. So Captain Roger traded his own death for a hope. And I trust the captain's intuition, waiting for and guiding someone with the will of D, come and uncover this. Shanks looked at Luffy. Huh, Luffy was taken aback. Me. That's right, it's you, Luffy. The captain's intuition is right. You can indeed do it, you have collected all the keys to Ralph Drew. Shanks smiled with relief. P.S. It is finally time to enter the final battle, and there is not much space left. Asterisk caret hollow down pointing triangle caret asterisk. Professional Savior. The Dragon Fruit boss has opened a new book. Professional Savior. Interested friends can take a look. Asterisk caret hollow down pointing triangle caret asterisk. What? Boss I am of the world government is going to turn off the lights again. What? The old woman who has been sealed for 1,000 years is going to plant trees again. What? The Quincy of the Invisible Empire is about to destroy the Soul Realm again. What? The invincible King Frieza is about to blow up the earth again. Get out of the way, let the professional come. Save the world, we are professional. Chapter 582 National Treasure. 800 years ago, there was a huge country in the world. It was an era of freedom, fairness and justice. Countless races have the same status in law. People live and work in peace and contentment under the same sky. And the ruler of this kingdom is D. Because of the open atmosphere of this country, its national strength has become stronger and stronger, threatening the rest of the country. The kings were afraid of the idea of freedom, and boycotted them one after another. However, no country is the opponent of the Great Kingdom. The D family holds 3 super weapons that can destroy the world, the King of Heaven, the King of the Sea, and the King of Pluto. At this moment, in the traditional country, a king stood up. He united the other 19 kings to form a coalition against the Great Kingdom. Where there are people there will be disputes, and where there are interests there will be oppression. Even a huge kingdom cannot be avoided. Because of differences in appearance, form, customs, ideas, etc., conflicts between races are inevitable. Although the D family does not discriminate against mermaids, there is a lot of friction between the people who live under the rule of D and the mermaids. The leader of the coalition, Yim, caught this flaw. Send out a messenger named Joey Bowie to persuade the merfolk to join their coalition. And promised to give them a higher status in the future international. The mermaid princess hesitated and did not give an answer, but did not send troops to support the huge kingdom. Taking advantage of the fact that there were only 2 of the 3 ancient weapons, IM used their secret weapons. That is, the national treasure of the Tianlong people, a super sea king controlled by them. Some people call it God. The brain of God was transformed by the coalition army with the fruit of surgery. As long as a device in its brain is provided with sufficient dragon life force, it can be dominated. Once there is not enough Dragon Man's vitality, then it will fall into a rampage, and it will become a war weapon that can only kill. When the mermaid princess realized that the 20-nation alliance was actually more unfriendly to them than the human beings in the huge kingdom, and wanted to rescue the huge kingdom, it was too late. The great kingdom collapsed, and the 20 kings formed the world government and moved to marry Joa. Was also afraid of the mermaid princess, because God was originally a super sea king. If he were the enemy of the mermaid princess, it might cause a rebound of his will. Moreover, he was the only dragon man at that time, and he provided the vitality needed to control the God. Although he has done an ageless operation, and after crossing the human limit, his vitality has been greatly enhanced. But wanting to dominate that terrifying creature was still a huge burden on him. So the two sides compromised and signed a peace treaty. One of the most important is that I am not allowed to use national treasure in the future. And it needs to provide enough dragon people vitality at regular intervals to stabilize the God, so that it does not fall into madness. The mermaid princess has a very short lifespan, and the executor of her will is the eldest son of God, Jesla, the king of the deep sea. It was born after the God was transformed by Yimu and the others, and inherited the blood of God. Although he was still young at that time, he already had a good fighting power. It leads the sea kings to settle near the sleeping God, so as to avoid someone awakening the God, and causing disaster. And the place where God sleeps is Ralph Drew. Those 4 special road signs were the route that Jesla agreed with the mermaid princess 800 years ago. As long as you sail along this route, you will not be attacked by them. No one else was allowed near Ralph Drew. And even if he gets the road sign, it's useless, because even if he takes the agreed path, Guthra can hit it right. The Sea Kings will not allow him to approach God. After the huge kingdom was overthrown, the world government launched a major purge to exterminate the D. And their heirs all intermarry with Im's heirs. The development of the dragon fruit can completely change its own genes and transform itself into the direction of dragon. And this lineage can be inherited. So 20 families have become dragon people. Augustine's eyes widened. That means Lord I am is my wife, my grandfather. The curly-haired 5-old star is full of black lines, that's right. I'm really surprised. That is to say, the purpose of gathering those wastes now is to collect their life force and use it as a sacrifice to wake up the God. Augustine looked at the confused Tianlong people without any emotional fluctuations, and he didn't care about the life and death of these people at all. It's true, the celestial dragons are actually kept by Lord Yim. Once needed, they will become sacrifices. Giving them that honorable status, to a certain extent, is also the kindness of Lord Yim, right compensation for his descendants. Curly-haired 5-old stars said lightly. I understand, Lord Yimu deliberately cultivated the Tianlong people to look like this, arrogant, and useless. And an outlier like me, focus on training, as a candidate for the 5-old stars, right? Well, that fellow Doflamingo is a bit of a pity, otherwise he should be in the same position as you at the moment. The 5-old stars with curly hair felt a little regretful. You don't have to be like this anymore, I'm a sensible person. I won't do anything rebellious, you can stop being so nervous. Augustine shrugged, he noticed that he had unwittingly curly hair and long beards. Birthmark 3 5-old stars have surrounded him. That's good. If I really want to kill a genius like you, I can't do it. The curly-haired 5-old star nodded. Don't lie, I still don't know your style. You won't hesitate when you should. Augustine pouted. The national treasure is in Ralph Drew. We need to forcibly break through the blockade of the Sea Kings. When the time comes, we 5 old guys don't know how many will survive. You will soon become the new 5 Old Star, said the Old Star. 5 Old Stars. This title seems to be quite good. But then I have to live to talk about it. Augustine didn't seem to have much desire for the position of 5 Old Stars. After this time, no matter who wins or loses, Tianlong people will be greatly damaged. You need to establish a new order. Be a little more prudent. Augustine. The long-bearded 5 Old Star patted his shoulder. Why do you make it seem like you are all going to die? Oops, it's really troublesome. Old man, try to come back alive. I want to chat with more like-minded people about One Piece. Black Dragon. Follow, you do literature, on WeChat, talk about life, find confidence. Chapter 583 Sniper Hat. Do you understand? We dare not wake up the God, if we are not sure to control it and prevent it from destroying it. Back then, Captain Roger didn't dare to release that terrifying power. Acting rashly will only lead to a huge disaster. Shanks looked solemn. We have Robin, we can understand the historical text, we also know what One Piece is, but we can't control the God, right? There are no Tianlong people among us. Nami raised her hand and said, there is no need for Tianlong people. Even if there are Tianlong people, 1 or 2 is not enough. The God is growing and constantly getting stronger. Compared with the 800 years, the vitality of the Tianlong people it needs is simply not enough. On the same day, as I said, God was transformed by the fruit of surgery. Shanks looked at Luo. Oh, so that's the case. Let Luo change that place back, or go through another transformation, and let the gods get rid of the dependence on the vitality of the Tianlong people. Nami suddenly realized. That's right, as long as the God regains self-consciousness, then the next thing will be easy. As far as I know, the mermaid princess should be in the Revolutionary Army. Yeah, White Star is with Clar. Sabo nodded. Yoshi, this way we won't be afraid of anything. Whether it's the Black Dragon or the Navy, we can let God kill them all. Usopp shouted happily. The brave sea warrior Usopp is fearless. Let's go. Black Dragon, Navy, World Government. Oh, Chopper yelled in conformity with him. The world government should be able to guess my actions. They will send people to stop them. We are running out of time. Shanks said, fainting. Robin took the rubbing and began to decipher the text. Luo and Chopper heal the wounds of the members of the Red Hair Pirates. Hawkeye, why are you here? Seeing that they had finished speaking, Zoro walked over and said. It's just an invitation from a friend. Besides, I'm very interested in the next battle. Hawkeye replied lightly. Usopp and Jesus Cloth, father and son, met with tears in their eyes. After talking, I decided to go for a few rounds together, and compare whoever shoots more accurately. Sabo calls Clar to learn that she and Shiro have traveled to Ralph Drew with the Aquamans. Verslow and Doflamingo also told Carter and others about the national treasure. He knows less, not as complete as the curly-haired 5 and Shanks. But there are a few points that haven't been missed. First, national treasure is a Super Sea King class. Second, the vitality of the Tianlong people can control the national treasure. Third, the transformation of the fruits of surgery is a national treasure. Fourth, the Straw Hat Boy has gathered the conditions to use the national treasure. Meow. Mentioning the Super Sea King class, Carter immediately thought of Godzilla. Brother Doflamingo, are you telling the truth? Milo stared at Brother Ming closely, but his glasses blocked his eyes, so he couldn't see it at all. Super Sea King the First seemed to have seen similar records in the database of Wano Kingdom. Akutagawa Huang said. I really heard a great secret. The national treasure of the Tianlong people is actually in Ralph. Shiliu was smoking a cigar, showing an interested expression. Doflamingo doesn't know why the national treasure is in Lovedrew. He doesn't know exactly. Hey, isn't that very bad? The Straw Hat Boy may become the Pirate King. Bashis shouted anxiously. Really, where did the captain go at this time? Lafayette was a little helpless. Caroline, have you heard from the captain yet? Milo asked. No, I can't get in touch all the time. Caroline replied. Meow. Next, everyone listens to my command. Carter changed his lazy look and his eyes became sharp. But I only listen to Daddy, said Wabel. Boom. An invisible coercion spread around with Carter as the center, and the terrifying coercion made everyone present chill behind their backs. Overlord is domineering, and it is a very advanced Overlord color. Shut up. I can command the Black Dragon pirates during a special period. Is there anyone who doesn't agree? Carter slapped the table with his front paws and looked at the crowd with his eyes as sharp as blades. At this moment, Carter was domineering. Wabel shut his mouth in horror, and the rest looked at it without objection. This is the default. They knew that Carter was domineering, but they didn't expect his domineering to be so powerful. This level of domineering made them think of the 4 emperors. Caroline, contact Ryder. Lafayette, instruct the pirates under his command to attack the ships of the Whitebeard pirates and the red-haired pirates when they see it. Flowing fire, adjust the motto to the best state, always ready to strike. Absolutely stop the Straw Hats. What? Let's give up the original plan and go all out to destroy the Red Hair Pirates and the Straw Hats. What a joke. Such a good opportunity. Don't you just clean up the whole new world? You idiots. Akainu yelled. Pay attention to your words, Sakazuki. The world government will also do its best, so you only need to be in charge of your part. The phone bug in front of Akainu scowled, resembling a curly-haired star. Just make it clear to me. I don't want to see such a good opportunity go to waste with a stupid plan. You have no right to know. Akainu's forehead blue veins popped up, and his arms turned red. There. The magma tumbled and black smoke spread. The smell of sulfur filled the room. The lava dripped on the ground, making a sizzling sound. What did you say? There are still plans that I, the Admiral of the Navy, are not qualified to know. The next battle is about the order of the whole world. This is not the Navy and the pirates, but the confrontation between the whole world government and the will of D. Akainu still looked angry. What are you afraid of? The undead from hundreds of years ago, what is there to be nervous about? Click. The phone worm droops down. Originally, Iam's plan was to deal with Anil by himself, and then let the Navy and CP agencies clean up the pirates. But he found that Enel was too strong to be beaten by himself. It is possible to defeat only by awakening the God. So he changed his plan. First, he summoned the Tianlong people and collected enough vitality. Let the Navy stop the Straw Hats and the Red Hair Pirates. Let the 5 Old Stars and CP0 contain the Sea Kings headed by Godzilla. He took the opportunity to go to Ralph Drew to wake up God, and use the power of God to clear everything. The temporary change of plan made Akainu feel very dissatisfied and puzzled at the same time. Obviously it can be pushed horizontally. What is the 5 Old Stars afraid of? Chapter 584 Ed Wall sees. Half a month later, on the sea, the flags were obscured. The world's governments and navies have hundreds of ships combined. The mighty advanced towards the final island. Sarka's base was on a warship's main gun, smoking a cigar. The exhaled smoke drifted away with the sea breeze, and the coat with the word, Justice, written on it rattled. He stood upright, like a tall pine and cypress, in a dark red suit, with a flower pin to his chest. Akainu is dressed up to attend. He went to the funeral and buried the era of the great pirates with his hands flowing with rolling lava. Hey, where are we going? Isn't he the main force of Port Gazdi? Ace stationed in this direction? Akainu asked indifferently, as if he was dealing with air culture. Lahaha, don't worry, this is the right direction. Sooner or later, you will meet those guys. A figure came out of the air. A humanoid outline is becoming clearer. Director, Augustine. What on earth are you trying to do? Even the 5 Old Stars came here. Akainu looked at the government ship not far away with a serious look on his face. Their combat power is also an important part of this plan. I should have told you before, right? This war is of great significance. It will determine the future ownership of this world. Augustine sat down cross-legged. Mother-in-law Ahi, what do you think? Kizaru said in a lazy tone. The world government, the clan of D, is a little uneasy, as if there is something terrifying ahead. Crane didn't answer Kizaru, staring at the sea ahead, a little irritable. The air smelled of the sea, a little damp. There were a few dark clouds in the distance, and the wind seemed to have grown stronger. Below the fleet, a huge shadow swims. Fujitora leaned on the unframed sword, his ears twitching. Rule all, watch out under the sea. He is the most domineering one, and even though he is separated by thousands of meters of seawater, he has found anomalies. Under the sea. Kizaru was still standing on the edge of the deck looking at the sea with the same wretched expression that has remained unchanged for thousands of years. There was nothing unusual, only the undulating waves beat against the hull of the warship. After a while, the sea suddenly surged up, the sea separated, and a huge mountain-like head emerged. This is a yellow-brown sea king, with a snake-shaped body, spanning thousands of meters, blocking the fleet, like a long winding dragon. A warship was almost knocked over by the huge body. Kizaru and Neptune stared at each other. His reaction seemed to be a beat slower than others. It's a super-large sea king. Someone exclaimed. Roar. The sea kings opened their mouths to the warship that Kayaburu was on. This is really troublesome. Kizaru put his arms in a cross on the sea, and the endless brilliance shone. 8th Changu Jade. Countless points of light blasted at the sea kings, and the sharp ball was better than the artillery of the warship. Boom boom boom, in an instant, its head was broken into pieces. Large chunks of flesh splattered. The sea was dyed red. Several large and small sea kings emerged, and the lieutenant generals and generals showed their magical powers, and not a single warship was lost. Augustine, Sakazuki, I'll leave it to you here. We have other things to do, said the 5 old stars with curly hair. The last sentence was for Akainu. Augustine knew what they were going to do. The ships of the 5 old stars have been specially modified, and they are not sailboats, but steam-powered. The government ship changed course and sped away from the line. The Pentateuch needs to go to rendezvous with IM. Akainu glanced at them and said nothing. Having them around would have gotten in the way. Wu Laoxing is not there. He is the supreme commander of the entire fleet. At the same time, Carter also led the Black Dragon pirates towards this place. It included the remnants of Ant and Kaido, and with the addition of new forces such as the 3 disasters, the combat power of the Black Dragon pirates expanded rapidly. The Black Dragon pirates didn't have a place for Ralph Drew, they didn't get the road signs, and even if they did, they couldn't understand it. But Caroline marked the phone bug on the Sunny. There is a phone bug as there, inner response, constantly sending signals to guide Caroline. The thunder exploded, and Milo held a black pistol in his hand, with lightning jumping from the muzzle. What the hell is going on? What number is this? Article 13. Lu Huo replied. Shiryu held Murasama's hand, and the cold blade made the water vapor liquefy on the blade, flowing like a small stream. The water washed the blade, automatically washing the blood on it. Shaking off the water stains on it, Shiryu put the knife in its sheath. This sea area is a little unusual. I thought we had entered the windless zone. Is it possible that it is Poseidon? Poison Q guessed. It's not Shirahoshi, otherwise we will have to face countless super-large sea kings. Have you noticed that some sea kings are injured? Akutagawa Huang observed more carefully. Injured. It's normal, right? Herring didn't think anything was wrong. It's perfectly normal for beasts to get a little wounded while hunting for prey, or fighting for a mate. Carter stared at the wounds for a long time, and found that the wounds were similar. It reminded me of Enel. How does it feel to be scratched by Enel's claws? It's probably my misunderstanding. This is not actually an illusion. Because of Enel's hunting and killing, the sea kings fled one after another. Some panicked and fled to the 4 seas, while a larger part converged on Ralph Drew, where Jesla was. Those with wounds were lucky to escape from Enel's hands. This does not mean that it is powerful, on the contrary, those who can escape from Enel are basically weaker ones. Because they are weak, Enel might just give a claw and stop paying attention. His priority hunting is those superlarge sea kings that are close to 5,000 meters in size. Wait, this is Edwall Sea area. Ryder suddenly shrank his pupils and his face became serious. Huh, Edwall. Milo looked puzzled. I also thought of it when I saw a fish that I just swam by. That kind of fish is a special product of Edwall's waters. Meow. Fish. Carter pricked up his ears. This used to be the battlefield between Roger and Ski lost a lot of troops in this battle. Ryder said. Well, I've heard about this too. It seems to be the Edwall naval battle. What's wrong? Akutagawa asked. The Edwall Sea area is nothing, but it will be different if you go further. There are terrifying monsters living in the sea ahead. And it's a race. Ryder increased his tone. Chapter 585 Naval Battle. Edwall Sea is not far from Ralph Drew. As the great pirate of the previous era, Ryder, by himself, kept pace with Roger, Whitebeard, and Sai. Adventurous, of course, he also played Ralph Drew's doctrine. Although he did not collect all the slates, he adopted a very Buddhist method, that is, move forward, move forward, move forward. Getting lost at sea should be a very dangerous thing, but Ryder took such a bold act out of absolute confidence in his own strength. He loves adventure, and since he is exploring unknown places, it is the same wherever he goes. It would be best to be lucky enough to run into Love Drew. No regrets that it didn't happen. After passing Ralph Drew, continue on. Ryder came to a sea with great wind and waves. Sea Dragon Lizard's lair. So he was taught by Camilla with a group of younger brothers. Don't be too rambunctious, or something will happen. Looking back now, Ryder still has lingering fears. Sea Dragon Lizard, it looks like you are lucky, Ryder. Seeing those guys proves that you are not far from Ralph Drew. Young, Doflamingo laughed. I'm really lucky. Of course it doesn't mean I met them. It's just that I was able to escape after encountering the Sea Dragon Lizard in the sea. It's really a lot of luck. Ryder recalled the past with some nostalgia. In other words, you can find Ralph Drew if you go to places where there are many sea kings. Milo dragged his chin. He had a bold idea. Miro, you have to control yourself. We'll die, said Caroline. Sounds good. Would you like to go check it out? Shiliu looked eager to try. Way ha 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 ha, a good idea. Bashes looked excited. Cough cough, Poison Q coughed out a large mouthful of black blood and fell to the ground. Indigo has studied it, and poison has little effect on that kind of creature. I can't help you much. Everything depends on the arrangement of fate. Oka was very calm. I'm super lucky today. Baccarat fiddled with a gold coin. Going to Love Drew. Sounds good. Quinn also began to jeer. Hey, you guys, calm down. I don't want to meet those monsters again. Herring looked frightened and tried her best to stop them. Ryder pondered. With our current combat power, it seems that we can indeed take a look. Meow. Carter moved, and it wanted to seek revenge for Godzilla. But I was worried that I couldn't beat the opponent. Looking at the sea resentfully, Enel, where are you? Ben Meow needs you. This is the end of the discussion. Fate seems to have helped us make a choice. The enemy is coming, Oka warned. Who? Straw Hat. No warships, and government ships. What to do? Then call me, Carter shouted without hesitation. Oh, the pirates cheered for a while. Noisy as if a group of demons were dancing wildly. At the same time. Report. A pirate ship was found ahead, the flag of the Black Dragon Pirates. Please order, Marshal Sakazuki. Destroy them. Without hesitation, Sakazuki chose to go to war. He has an extremely hostile attitude towards pirates, so how can he let go of a large group of pirates right in front of him? Hey, calm down, our target is the Straw Hats. Augustine discouraged. Then where did you say the Straw Hat boy is? I didn't see a single straw. Akainu stared at Augustine dissatisfied. According to the information, the Straw Hats should arrive soon. We came ahead of time to set up the defense line. There is a group of pirates ahead, so how do we set up our defenses? Of course, defeat them first. Akainu said firmly. His decision was supported by numerous navies. Augustine didn't know that Carter was actually here to intercept the Straw Hat. After a little thought, he agreed to Akainu's battle order. After all, there are Carter and others on the side. They need to be on guard against each other at all times, which is not conducive to them laying a circle around the Straw Hats. Carter chose to go to war for the same reason. Then let me fire the first shot. Fujitora stepped on his clogs and walked to the edge of the deck. He tied a rag, his face tensed. A circle of purple ripples rushed into the sky. After a while, a small black dot appeared in the sky. What is that? A pirate looked up at the sky, and soon, his face showed horror. It's over, it's a meteorite. The Navy's momentum is very strong, and it has to be said that this highly visually impactful trick is of great help in improving morale. Those at the bottom can't tell which of the strong men's attacks are more threatening. It's the same for them anyway. If you get hit, you die. So in their opinion, the better the visual effects, the bigger the scene, the more powerful it is. Akutagawa floated into the sky, raised his hand to touch the meteorite, and in an instant, the meteorite stopped. He is the power user of the fluttering fruit, and neither himself nor the non-creatures he touches will be affected by gravity. To a certain extent, it restrains Fujitora's gravity fruit. Was it stopped? Fujitora was blind, but his powerful arrogance made him hear it all. Lion Power Dragon Roar. The meteorite changed shape, and a huge lion head and a dragon head came together to attack the Navy. It's a mistake. Fujitora waved his sword, and a purple light shot towards the sea. Boom boom boom. Countless seas rose into the sky, forming huge waves, engulfing the lions and dragons transformed by the meteorites. Waihaha, let me say hello too. Vashas jumped to the front of the motto excitedly, clenched his fists, and turned his left shoulder backwards. However, before he could release the shock wave, a beam of light shot towards his face. Vassos leapt to the left, dodging the laser. It's so dangerous, I was almost shot in the face. He looked a little embarrassed. Pelusalino. Milo turned into lightning and rushed into the sky. Kizaru does the same thing. The two fought in the clouds, the dazzling golden light flickered, the silver snake danced, and the thunder exploded. The roar of air came from the sky. Akainu jumped into the air with a moon step, and he gave the command to Lieutenant General Crane. He preferred to kill the pirates with his own fists rather than control the situation from behind. Meow. Carter licked the cat's paw and greeted him. It is a nimble cat. Even if its body is as fat as a ball, it will not prevent it from walking coquettishly. The two armies were already close and within range. Boom boom boom. The two sides kept firing, and one by one shells flew in the air, coming and going. It was so lively. However, the accuracy of the head is a big problem. After fighting for a long time, I did not see any ships that were sunk by shells. The greatest danger to ships is not the artillery, but the aftermath of the battles of the powerhouses. Chapter 586 Luffy the Hateful. Boom. A pirate ship was slashed open by an admiral, and the officer was quickly drowned in the blade and bullets. Generally, the bullets fired by pirates are very impressive in terms of lethality and accuracy, but in this kind of melee, this is the most dangerous thing. As long as the body is not strong enough to ignore bullets, or those with special fruit abilities, anyone can be injured by stray bullets that fly from nowhere. Stray bullets are the hardest thing to dodge. It is basically the elite in the Navy are pirates who can participate in this war. They are basically sensitive to killing intent, but stray bullets have no killing intent at all, and it is difficult to hide when they perceive danger. The Navy pirates fought fiercely, with murderous aura, and shouted to kill the sky. However, their role on the battlefield is actually very small. At most, it is used to delay time or consume the physical strength of the enemy. It is the powerhouses at the top who really play a decisive role. Big Fire Spit. A huge lava fist slammed, and the hot breath made people feel skin tingling from a distance. The ship that was stuck with the magma quickly burned, and thick black smoke rose into the sky. There are pirate ships and warships. If there were 5 pirate ships and 1 warship together, and if they wanted to attack, they would inevitably get hurt by accident, and Akainu would definitely hit him without saying a word. There will be no worries because of the presence of warships. He is an iron-blooded soldier who can regard the personnel of both sides as piles of numbers. As long as the battle damage ratio is acceptable, he will not hesitate because of personal feelings. Brush. A black light flashed, and a dagger made by Halushi was almost attached to Akainu's body when it appeared. However, the sneak attack did not work. The seafloor stone was submerged into the magma, and it was reddened by the high temperature, with some signs of softening. Get out. I've been guarding you for a long time. Akainu punched the side of a warship and penetrated it. Carter sprang out, and the big pink meatball circled in the air and then fell. Limbs landed firmly on the deck. Boom. The deck trembled, and Carter sank with 1 foot. Well, it must be that the quality of this warship is too poor, not my pot. Absolutely not. Carter pulled his foot out and stared at Akainu with cat eyes. Rodent Red Lotus. Catwalk Pendulum. As a light and soft cat, Carter jumped into the sky very sensitively. The warship beneath his feet was slowly sinking. Above the clouds, yellow flashes intersected with bright white thunder. Huh. Milo suddenly stopped and looked into the distance. Floating in the air, Fujitora, who threw stones at Akutagawa, also stopped and looked in the same direction. A fleet came breaking the waves, the crescent-bearded skull emblem so conspicuous on the sails. There are also all kinds of strange flags, which are the pirates attached to Shanks. They know that this battle is very dangerous, but because of the redhead's love, many people choose to repay their gratitude, and the pirates will also be moral. Ha ha ha, to be able to participate in this kind of war that determines the ownership of one piece, even if you die, you will have no regrets. A tall sea pirate with red hair and half-bald head stuck out his tongue and licked the blade. I'll let you in with white knives and out with red knives. Navy, wash your necks and wait. You are already a red knife. A pirate next to him complained. Huh. The half-bald red-haired pirate was taken aback and found that his tongue was cut by the blade. It hurts. Ha 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 ha, One Piece's throne is calling me. Let me, Bucky the Clown, come to an end to the battle for the throne. Long live Captain Bucky. Bucky also brought a fleet, and the appearance of the ships was a bit ridiculous. This is the ship that his courier company uses to deliver goods. After a little modification, it becomes a warship. Don't underestimate his ship. It looks a little funny, colorful and very showy, but the secret Bucky cannon is not a vegetarian. Luffy, you just go ahead, these people are handed over to us. The 2 ships that Ace and Sabo were on escorted a pirate ship in the middle. Luffy was standing at the bow of that ship, giggling all the time. It's not impossible to detour. However, the battle line between the Navy and the Black Dragon pirates was very long, stretching for dozens of kilometers. There are even more domineering masters like Milo and Fujitora. It would be a waste of time to detour. When things came to such a situation, the Red Hare knew that the world government must also prepare to activate the national treasure. So they have to get ahead of the world government. Oh, the Straw Hat Boy really appeared. Kizaru stretched his tone. Monkey D. Luffy, what force is pushing you forward? Hundreds of thousands of troops are intercepting CP0. All the generals and officers of the naval headquarters will be the enemies you have to face. Did you have the courage to move forward? Fujitora's expression was a little complicated, and he had a great impression on Luffy. Straw Hat Boy Fire Fist Ace, you are really here. Akainu's aura became even hotter. That's the Chief of Staff of the Revolutionary Army. Did they intervene too? This is also expected. After all, this is a battle that determines the future direction. I just don't know if Dorag is coming. Augustine was on guard all around. They didn't know that Drago was dead. They only knew that the Revolutionary Army had been hit hard by Anal. After all, there were very few witnesses. Straw Hat Luffy. Milo felt that Luffy was a little strange, and his voice was too weak. But there is not too much doubt, because it is not a difficult skill to suppress one's own breath. Luffy. At a loss, the cat treats you as a friend, and you actually sent someone to demolish my house. Carter was very angry, and the consequences were serious. It had never really met Luffy before. It was Luffy's buddy who did the damage in Verslow, and then Luffy escaped into the mirror when Carter arrived at Cake Island. This is the first time they face each other since the New World. In fact, Luffy didn't know that Carter was the so-called Deep-Sea Admiral before implementing Luo's plan. Otherwise, nothing will be said. As soon as the Straw Hat Pirates came out, they attracted a lot of hatred. Carter abandoned his opponent and charged towards Luffy. And his opponent Akainu also made the same move as Carter. The two attacked the ship where Luffy was in a very tacit understanding. Firefly. Ace starts. A sea of fire stopped in front of the two of them. HMPH, can't you remember the lesson? Magma, but it can burn flames. Akainu snorted coldly. Oh, then come and give it a try. Ace was eager to try, but now the temperature of his flame is not the same as in the past. Big fire. Fire punch. Two fists exuding high temperature collided. And Carter was also stopped by Sabo. Chapter 588 Breakthrough Interception. Under the escort of the pirates one after another, the ship crossed layers of obstacles and finally broke through this battlefield. I won't let you escape. Kizaru kicked down. A bullet flew towards him. In the distance, Jesus Cloth is blowing at a pistol, and it is obvious that the gun he just took is his masterpiece. The bullet was wrapped in a lot of domineering armed colors, and Kizaru didn't dare to take it lightly. It was flying towards his head. Kizaru bowed his head, dodging the bullet. But under the influence, he also kicked crookedly. Instead of hitting the hull, it hit the back of the boat. Boom! The terrifying force set off a huge wave, and the boat Luffy was riding took the wave and moved forward quickly. Kizaru, are you sure you're not the undercover agent sent from the opposite side? Milo tried to get rid of Kaiabu many times to attack Luffy, but was always interrupted by Kaiabu's beam. He wants to curse. What the hell, I don't run away, why are you so tight? Now everyone with discernment knows that preventing the Straw Hat from leaving should be the first priority. Brush. A red sword slash came, directly cutting the boat in half. This is it, Straw Hat Boy. Akutagawa Huang slowly fell from the sky and landed on the wooden boat that he had chopped in two, his eyes cold. Haha, I guessed wrong. It's the slave family. Luffy suddenly showed a big smile, and his voice became strange. He patted his face with his hand, revealing a face with heavy makeup, neither male nor female. Unlike Akutagawa's beauty, his face would only make people sick to the stomach. This is Mr. 2, Von Cray. While advancing the city, he escapes with the Straw Hat. Because Magellan, the boss of the advancing city, was stumped by Enel, he did not sacrifice. But escaped successfully. Akutagawa had a dark face and a gloomy expression. Fake. Milo closed his eyes and searched carefully. A flash of red light flashed in his eyes, and then he shouted, "Under the sea." Boom. He turned into a lightning bolt and rushed straight into the sea. The high-voltage current penetrated the seawater, and an electric current surrounded Milo's body. As soon as the seawater approached, it would be ionized, and the oxygen formed could allow him to breathe out. So in the sea, he still retains the fighting ability. Akutagawa Huang manipulated the air around him, making it tightly surround himself. Formed into a ball, he also jumped into the sea. The air hood isolates the seawater. However, because the pressure of the seawater still exists, it squeezes the air. The air pressure he was exposed to was equal to the water pressure. He can't enter two deep seas. Carter swims with a dogplaner style, which is very fast. The name, Deep Sea Admiral, is not just talking. Beneath the sea is his home ground. A yellow submarine was full of horsepower. Milo used his thunder to pierce the seawater, creating a temporary air channel. It instantly turned into lightning and teleported past. Soon caught up with the submarine. He entered it along the metal hull of the submarine. Unfortunately, you guessed wrong. The submarine was only controlled by a group of ordinary pirates, the kind that could not be found in the crowd. They were once saved by Shanks. Voluntarily accepted this mortal task. Milo's face was gloomy as if water could drip. Damn it, it was put together. Boom. Thunder blew the submarine into two pieces. The pirates were silent with the wreckage of the submarine. Where is the Straw Hat Kid? In the sky. Augustine looked up at the sky. The Sunny broke through the sea of clouds and flew at high speed. Frankie temporarily transformed Sunny to make the wind jet more powerful, and the flight distance reached a frantic 30 kilometers. This kind of power does great damage to the hull. Just one hit will seriously damage Sunny, and 2 hits may sink the ship. 3 hits, not 3 hits at all. If you want to use it for the 3rd time, the ship will definitely disintegrate. Shanks knew that even if he could pass the battlefield, it would be difficult to get rid of the pursuit of the strong, so he used this method. Let the stand-ins get the attention first, and then they'll just spray them with the fly. Augustine wanted to intercept, but Lackey Lou jumped out and tried to stop Augustine even if he was injured. Moments later, the Sunny flew past. They got rid of most of their enemies. However, they are still in the search range of the two. Admiral Fujitora, and Milo. Fujitora didn't choose to pursue, and he had a good impression of Luffy and let it go. Milo rushed out of the sea and chased after him from the air. Huh! A golden light blocked the path. Milo whirled, and his right knee collided with the leg that had turned into a particle of light. What do you mean, Pulsalino? Such eyes are really scary. Kizaru still spoke in a mocking tone. Is there anything wrong with the old man's actions against the pirates? There was no laziness in his eyes, but as sharp as a sword. On the Sunny, Luffy is wearing a black trench coat. The straw hat was firmly on his head. Stand on Sunny's lion head and look at the sea in the distance. A Sea King is helping them pull the boat. This Neptune class is voluntary. It had met Luffy when he was on Mermaid Island and had exchanges with him. I also know that Luffy and Shirahoshi are friends. The ship sailed very fast, and the waterline of the hull was so shallow that it almost floated on the sea. Luffy, what are you thinking? Shanks stood on the deck. No, Luffy was a little disappointed. He was chasing the great secret treasure just because he wanted to know what it was. Becoming the Pirate King is his goal, but he actually cares more about the journey along the way. After he really learned about Ralph Drew's secret, he was not very excited. Obviously, he is about to reach Ralph Drew and become the Pirate King, but his heart is very calm. On the contrary, Chopper and Usopp looked very happy. Go 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 love Drew. They hummed together. Luffy, Zoro said. He knew Luffy's current situation, and he lost a sense of expectation. Even if the thing he was originally chasing was in front of him, he would not have the original feeling. Ah, I know, don't worry. From Zoro's tone, Luffy understood in seconds that he was comforting himself. Luffy's mentality of pursuing the big treasure at the beginning was relaxed and happy. He enjoyed the adventure. However, at this time, he was tasked with awakening the God, releasing the dragon's control over the God, and convincing it to help them defeat Enel. He is not a hero who wants to save the world, he just wants to be an unrestrained pirate. Because the hero is to share the meat with others, but the pirate can use it to hold a banquet. No one can beat him at the banquet. However, now he has to work hard for the future of this world. Although he was a little disappointed to know what the big secret treasure was in advance, he would not back down. Responsibility drives him forward. Chapter 588 Love Drew. At sea, the battle situation is anxious. The cannon roared and the bullets shot everywhere. The swords collided, making a crisp vibration. The shouting and killing continued, and the moans and screams kept ringing. From time to time someone was knocked into the sea with a thud. Augustine and Doflamingo had the heart to chase the Straw Hats. But down to such an extent, no one listens to them. Akainu didn't know what Ralph Drew had, he only saw the pirates in front of him. The straw hat can be kept and cleaned up slowly. After all, Roger was fine when he arrived at Ralph Drew. Wasn't he executed by the Navy in the end? So he didn't want to stop fighting. Whether it is the Black Dragon Pirates or the Straw Hat Coalition, they are all subjects to be executed. As for Ace and Sabo, their task is to hold back the Navy and the Black Dragon Pirates and buy enough time for Straw Hat Luffy's actions. As for Carter, at first he was thinking of chasing the Straw Hat. However, the other two parties were clinging to each other, and they were also angry after trying to get rid of them several times to no avail. When this cat is easy to bully, hit you to death. When the fighting lasted for several hours, they were all red-eyed. And Luffy and the others, with the help of the Sea Kings, quickly reached the end of the Great Channel, the sea area where Ralph Drew is located. The sky was overcast and cloudy. Countless thunder snakes surged in the air, exuding a strange and ominous aura. Countless huge shadows floated under the sea. That is a huge Sea King class. Luffy, I can only send you here. Humans in the front are prohibited from entering. If you want to go to Ralph Drew, you must follow the promised road, recorded on the slate, or Lord Jessia will attack. That said the Sea King. Well, I see. Thank you, Blackie. Luffy nodded. At this moment, a white Sea King broke through the waves. The whole body is snow white, with beautiful scales and a pair of small wings on the back. Although it was only over 1,000 meters, Xiao Hei, who is nearly 5,000 meters long, seemed very uneasy when he pulled Luffy's boat. The Sea Dragon Lizard, the combat power of this Sea King is much more than ordinary. They are simply a race born to kill, and their combat power is amazing. Hoo-hoo, Xiao Hei issued a warning, thinking that the other party was here to attack Luffy. Although the Sunny has not yet stepped into the Forbidden Zone. But do Sea Kings still need a reason to attack human ships? Except for the ships on the Promised Road, that they cannot attack, any other place is their hunting ground. Roar. The Sea Dragon Lizard also roared, although the small black body was almost 5 times as long as it, but it was not afraid. Luffy-sama, a pleasant voice sounded. Luffy looked for fame and found a beautiful shadow. Mermaid Princess, White Star. Shiroi. Sanji was the most excited, his eyes instantly turned into love, and his whole body twisted abnormally, looking like a nympho. Tiny Star, why are you here? Luffy asked happily. I met everyone, so I came here with them. Bai Xing touched the head of the Sea Dragon Lizard, and the Sea Dragon Lizard narrowed its eyes, like a puppy being stroked by its owner. Everyone here is very friendly. Shirahoshi smiled. Very friendly. Usopp and Chopper have big question marks on their foreheads. They don't think the Aquarians are so friendly. Yo-ho-ho-ho, beautiful lady, can I admire your panties? Brooke's soul floated over. Princess White Star. Shanks took a few steps forward. Can you take us to Love Drew? It's a bit troublesome to take the promised road, so when Shanks saw Shirahoshi, he wanted to try to take a shortcut. Let me ask. Bai Xing said a few words to the Sea Dragon Lizard. The Sea Dragon Lizard nodded. Of course it doesn't matter to the friend of Lord Bakesing. The so-called Promised Road was set by the previous Sea King and was recognized by Jesla. Godzilla is different from the general Sea Kings. As the eldest son of God, Poseidon is not very binding on him. Although this generation of Sea Kings cannot directly order Godzilla to abolish the Promised Road, it is still possible to bring a few people there. So, Luffy marched towards Ralph Drew without any hindrance. Because of Bai Xing's relationship, the green light was given along the way, and the Neptunes also provided friendly help. Actively arranged in 2 columns, forming a channel in the middle. Use their huge bodies to separate the wind and the waves. The kilometer-long Sea King also pulled the boat for them. Looking at the welcoming scene of the Sea Kings, no matter who is on the boat, it feels a little unreal. Those terrifying creatures are so enthusiastic about them. Hello everyone. Thank you. Luffy jumped on Shiraoshi's shoulders and waved at the Neptunes with an excited smile on his face. He suddenly began to look forward to Ralph Drew's trip again. Along the way, they saw a lot of Sea Dragon Lizards. Different sizes, a lot of numbers. The largest is about 3 or 4 kilometers, and this level can already cause a lot of threats to Luffy. Wow, there are so many great goods. Luffy exclaimed. The most powerful, of course, is Lord Godzilla. But now it's not here. Someone invaded. His Royal Highness took someone to intercept it, said the sea dragon lizard who pulled the boat. Hey, someone dares to invade here. They are courting death. Usopp's mouth widened, a little unbelievable. It's a big bad guy named I Am. His Highness Guzra will definitely win. Luffy, I'm afraid it's the world government. We're going soon. Shanks looked solemn. He didn't believe that the government would be unprepared, and he never dared to underestimate the Tianlong people. Yeah, Luffy nodded solemnly. Can you be faster? Shall Bai? We dare to time. Luffy shouted at the sea dragon lizard. Shall Bai? Nami's mouth twitched. She was speechless about Luffy's naming method. Although there are some doubts, this is the request of the distinguished guest, and it is not difficult, and there is no reason for it to refuse. Don't worry, wrap it on me. The dragon's tail swayed, speeding up its advance. Its speed is much faster than the little black just now, and the sunny is really floating in the sky. Float up, down, it's like being adrift. Thanks to the tenacity of Baoshu Adam, if it was an ordinary wooden boat, it would have already fallen apart. At this high speed, they quickly approached Ralph Drew. From a distance, a small black island stands on the sea. The rolling mountains are very tall. The appearance of the whole island is very peculiar, with an oval shape in general, and the mountains run across the island, separating the whole island. Nami looked at the island thoughtfully. She always felt like she had seen this kind of terrain before. Luffy looked at the island in the distance, Pungbai in his heart, and his dream was within reach. When I get there I'm One Piece. I want to chat with more like-minded people about One Piece Black Dragon, follow Yudu literature, on WeChat, talk about life, and find confidence tilde. Chapter 589, National Treasure, Love Drew. When Luffy was going smoothly, I Am was not very happy. He got here earlier than Luffy, but got stumbled. He received the attention of the Sea Kings, and Jesla, Camilla, and 3 sea dragon lizards with a body length of 5,000 meters were gathered here. There is also a large group of ordinary superlarge sea kings staring at them. I Am can fly, but in the face of this giant beast, it is useless for him to fly. Godzilla can jump to more than 10,000 meters in one jump, and he can even hit it in the air. The 5 old stars also have decent strength. They share the pressure for I Am. The huge size is the weakness of the sea dragon lizards, making them almost a living target. But their huge size is also their advantage. The distance between the 5 old stars is not very far from each other. The attack of the sea dragons is mainly based on collision. After all, the size gap is too large, and their sharp claws can't play much role. The huge size allows them to basically cover the 5 old stars every time they collide. There are also a few sea kings with severe pain that attacked at the first opportunity and sprayed venom at them. Both I Am and the sea dragon lizard are immune to this venom, but the 5 old stars are not. Lord Yim, I'll buy you time. 1 minute, shouted the blonde 5 old stars. Enough. I Am nodded. The huge white dragon lost its former grace, blood on its body, and one of its horns was broken. This was drawn by Godzilla in the previous battle. He flew to the clouds, the water vapor condensed towards him. Jesla sensed the danger and rushed towards I Am. But after crossing a certain limit, its speed dropped eerily. Becomes very slow. The face of the blonde 5 old star is rapidly aging, and the skin is wrinkled like the bark of an old tree. His eyes were bleeding, and blood was oozing from his nose, corners of his mouth, and ears. The 5 old stars were originally characters of the same era, and their ages were basically the same, but the 5 old stars with blonde hair looked younger. That's because of his fruit power. Can create a field and slow down the flow of time within the field. He usually mobilizes fruit. One is to exercise his ability, and the other is to prolong his life. This kind of ability needs to consume a huge amount of physical strength to act on others. A giant beast like Godzilla cannot be affected by his abilities under normal circumstances. At this moment, the blonde five old stars have been desperate. In order to cover the sea dragon lizards, which are generally several kilometers in length, he forcibly created a huge field with a radius of more than 30 kilometers, which was far beyond the limit of his normal use. The price is his life. With all his life, he bought just 1 minute for him. Ang! The crisp and melodious dragon roar sounded, and Yimu finally completed his preparations and compressed enough water. The blood-filled wing membranes stiffened, and the body stretched like a stiff bow. Purple thunders appeared around him, and the wind and rain blew. The blonde five-old star has all white hair, and his body is dry and bony. Like a beggar who has been hungry for a long time. All the teeth have fallen out, and only one last breath is left. Roar! Gezra broke free from the time domain and rushed towards him. Brush! A bright white line of high-pressure water pierced through the clouds and cast down from the sky. The waterline collided with the dragon chief, who was wrapped in a large number of armed colors. Boom! The earth-shattering collision sounded, and the rolling air waves blew away the dark clouds. The sea set off waves dozens of meters high. Godzilla's huge body fell from the sky. The huge body was neatly cut in half, and the sky was stained with blood. Seeing this scene, the five old stars with blonde hair finally closed their eyes peacefully. His sacrifice was not in vain. Hold head high. The loud dragon roar played in the air, and the roaring razor seemed to be celebrating his victory. I am panting, almost exhausting his strength in this move to ensure that the threat of Guthra was eliminated. The Sea Kings were a little frightened, and the panic spread like a plague. Roar! With a roar from Camilla, the Sea Kings fell silent. Its prestige is enough, and in the absence of Godzilla, it is also enough to dominate the Sea Kings. But although it is powerful, it is powerless to stop him. As long as the five old stars stopped it a little, him was able to get out of the fight and fly to Ralph Drew. There was no breakthrough just now, because Jesla was too powerful, and the five old stars couldn't stop it at all. In the past, when Enel and Carter teamed up to deal with Guthra, who was injured by a set fire in Malinfado, they had never faced it head-to-head. All rely on roaming kite tactics. That terrifying power, the mountain-like body shape, is simply not something that humans can stop. Compared to it, Camilla is slightly inferior. Together, the five old stars can stop its movements head-on. As for the rest of the sea dragon lizards, they are not qualified to intercept Yimu at all. Im flew away, leaving the five old stars to face the horde of Neptunes. Camilla poured her anger on them. The five old stars, surrounded by many sea kings, have fallen into a desperate situation. Looks like we're done here too. The long-bearded five old star was very calm, and he didn't panic in the face of death. Before we die, we have to make a scene. We haven't fought like this for a long time, haven't we? Kimono with a knife. Wu Laoxing held a long knife, and the white kimono was stained red with blood. Then let's compete, see who kills the most, said the five old stars with curly hair. The scar at the corner of his eye is a testament to his bravery when he was young. They are not ordinary Tianlong people, but they have been involved in CP0 and have come from dangerous battles again and again. Although their skills and consciousness are a little rusty in their high positions all year round, they have already regained their senses in the previous battles. They were once top masters comparable to the three generals. Roar! Camilla let out a terrifying roar and charged at them. I am unstoppable. But at least kill these bastards before its father is awakened. Avenge his brother, Godzilla. The battle started again, and the sword light cut by the five old stars with the sword collided with the huge dragon claws, releasing the sound of gold and iron symphony. The huge waves on the sea are constantly rolling, one wave after another. The huge white dragon swam gracefully in the air, and the clouds were to him what water was to the fish. Im was moving fast, the wind was all around him, and the clouds moved with him. Soon, he saw the dark green island, Ralph Drew. There is nostalgia in Im's eyes. 800 years can change too many things. Everything he once knew is gone. And Ralph Drew, the reliance on which he overthrew the huge kingdom in the past, remains the same. Long time no see, you seem to have grown even bigger. I am muttered to himself. Ralph Drew is the national treasure of the Super Sea King, the Dragon Man. Chapter 590 Origin of Halus Stone. Approaching Ralph Drew, the sea became eerily calm, and it was clear that the wind was roaring and the waves were raging not far away. Along the direction of the mountains, there is a huge whirlpool on the sea away from the island. The vortex sometimes disappears and sometimes appears. When the vortex disappeared, the closed seawater splashed upwards, like a huge fountain. Luffy was stunned, and his face was full of surprise. He heard a voice, magnificent, vast, distant, ancient, vicissitudes, incomparably magnificent, incomparably majestic, like the whisper of a god. At this moment, he understood what Ralph Drew was. This whole island is the back of the sleeping Super Sea King that sticks out of the water. All were shocked by this great and ancient creature. No, Usopp and Chopper's mouth almost fell to the ground. Nami finally understood why she felt that the outline of Ralph Drew was a little familiar. Isn't that what the sea dragon lizard's back looked like when it was exposed to the sea? Although I've seen it before, I'm still surprised that such a creature exists in the world. Luffy, Luo, Mihawk, let's go, Shanks said. Guys, you guys are waiting for me here, Luffy said to his mates. Luffy, be careful, Nami urged. Yeah, Luffy nodded heavily. Wait, I'll go too. The answer to history may be at hand, and Robin couldn't control his excitement. People from the world government have also come. There may be a fight later. And the opponent must be extremely terrifying, Shanks emphasized. Don't worry, I'm measured, Robin said. The five jumped on the Mini Mary and headed for the island with the continuous mountains. There is little vegetation on the islands and the soil is thin. There is only a thin layer, many places are bare rock, and it is desolate. Approaching Ralph Drew, both Law and Luffy felt an extremely uncomfortable aura. That is the power of the sea, the breath of Halus Stone. As they stepped on Ralph Drew, Rose stared at the rock beneath his feet, the corners of his eyes twitching. This entire island is made of sea floor stones. It wouldn't be surprising if Enel and Carter were here. The scales of Godzilla, who had fought with them, had the power of sea stone. But not as strong as these. Ralph Drew has the ability to manipulate the sea. Its scales are soaked in the sea and will continuously absorb the power of the seawater. Over the years, it will form a sea floor stone. Sea dragon lizards, like snakes, have the characteristics of molting. It takes too long. The scales will fall off, and then be washed into the whirlpool not far from the island by the ocean current, and fly into the ocean current leading to the four seas with the eruption. Finally, it will be washed by the ocean current to the seafloor stone-producing areas controlled by the world government. Shanks explained. So, this is the origin of Halus Stone? Robin asked. Yes, this is the source of all sea tower stones. Shanks nodded. In the past, during the reign of the huge kingdom 800 years ago, there was no such thing as sea rock. Although there are materials with the power of the sea, in nature, such as the horny particles in the sky and sea clouds. But there is no technology that can hold it together. Quote, it wasn't until the birth of Ralph Drew that the truly formed sea towers appeared. 800 years ago, after being caught, the criminals who were capable were directly immersed in a large vat full of seawater. Shank is a historian, he tells them some secrets of the past. Mr. Riley must have mentioned something about Captain Roger to you in the past, right? Well, he said you and O'Hara were a little too hasty, said Robin. That's right, it's because of it, Ralph Drew. Even if he can overthrow the rule of the Draconians, if the Draconians perish, they will fall into a frenzy, and Ralph Drew, who has no control, will kill all creatures. Shanks looked solemn. Robin's face was dripping with cold sweat, and they had no doubt that Ralph Drew had the power to destroy the world. The race of this behemoth should be the sea dragon lizard. It sleeps in the sea, but its back can be exposed to the sea. According to the proportion, its body size is probably more than 30,000 meters. It is 3 times that of Godzilla, and 6 times that of the general superlarge sea king. Wait, Robin suddenly seemed to think of something, and stared at the huge vortex in the distance. "Oh, you found it. That's right, it's breathing," Shanks said calmly. At the end, Luo's mouth twitched, and he doubted whether he was still awake. 30 kilometers of creatures exhale to form a huge vortex, triggering the existence of a tsunami. Is this really something that biology can achieve? God is well deserved. They came to a section of the island, the end of the mountain range. This is where Ralph Drew's spine sits. And the device that controls Ralph Drew is also here. The spine of the sea dragon lizard has a large number of nerves, which is their second brain. Even this position is more critical than the brain, in the head position, and the spine is the key to this creature. A tall tower is like a big tree, and the huge man-made building is dark green. It replaces the fins that were originally in this position. At the bottom of the tower are some root-like conduits like tree roots. Twisted and twisted, kind of like a cable. It was these roots that sank into Ralph Drew's crush, connected its nerves, and controlled it. "Luo, it's up to you next," Shanks said. "Yeah." Luo looked calm. He knew his heavy responsibility. The tower is not actually the core, it's just a device that provides vitality. The key is the altered nerves. If the nerves are not changed back, even destroying the tower will only bring disaster to the world. Ralph Drew, under the control of the dragons, is only a deterrent strategic weapon. But if it gets out of hand, it's the end of the world. "Watch out! Get down!" Shanks shouted suddenly. Brush, brush. Countless water bombs passed over their heads. I am floating in the air, staring at them with those indifferent golden pupils. Being watched by these eyes, even Shanks and Hawkeye felt a lot of pressure. "I didn't expect you to actually get here. However, that's the end of it. Next, you will all die." Yimu's tone was flat, but he was full of confidence and unquestionable. "Who are you?" Shanks didn't know Yimu's identity either. He thought that the final opponent would be the 5 old stars. "Being able to get here, you are indeed qualified to be my opponents. Let me introduce myself. My name is I Am, and I am one of the 20 kings who founded the world government 800 years ago." "What?" Robin was shocked. Chapter 592 Dragon King of the Sky. Im's identity shocked everyone present. Even Shanks and Mahawk were no exception, terrified of this old monster who had lived for hundreds of years. "Humans can live for 800 years. Shanks broke out in a cold sweat. "Ah, it is indeed possible. The people of Tianlong know that the profound meaning of the fruit of surgery is the operation of agelessness. Then in history, there should be such a person. I am afraid it is him." Luo's forehead was covered in cold sweat, and a white circle appeared turn in hand. "Talazai, don't do it. Save your energy and leave it to us. You do what you need to do. No matter who he is, now we just need to beat him up." Luffy clenched his fists with both hands, staring at I Am. "Ha ha ha, that's right," Shanks laughed. "Interesting. I'm afraid this is the real strongest person in the world." Feeling a mom's terrifying aura, Mahawk's eyes were full of fighting intent. "Know that Black Dragon is far above him. But this battle is definitely not easy." Shanks drew his western sword. His left leg was taken back by Luo Gi, although it was not as flexible as in the past, it was barely able to support the fight. Robin retreated far. This level of battle is not something she can mix in at all. Luo ran towards the control tower. Of course I Am wouldn't let him get his wish, and when he raised his hand, a thunderbolt shot at him. A red light flashed in Luffy's eyes. After the battle with Milo in the mirror space, his sense of seeing and hearing has reached the level of predicting the future. Before Yim did it, he took action and stopped in Thunder's path. The dazzling thunder light hit him, offset by his rubber body. "Talazai, don't look back. We won't let him get in your way." Luffy looked serious. "I see." Luo too wouldn't either. Although he knew it was dangerous to expose his back to such a terrifying guy, Luffy had an inexplicable infectious power, and he believed in Luffy. He stop me. It's just you." The people who arrived at Ralph Drew could make him look at it differently, but that's all. Didn't think he was going to lose. Even after breaking through the interception of the sea dragon lizards, his state is not very good, but the other party is waiting for it. He is still full of confidence in his own strength. He is a dragon man, the first king. He is not his gang of waste descendants. He is a strong man who has created a huge world government with his own strength and stands on the top of the world. Shanks' sword was already in front of him, and stretched out his right hand and grabbed it towards the sword. There was no domineering in his hands, but when the two collided, there was a sound of metal slamming. At the last moment, Shanks withdrew his strength, so his sword was only slightly in contact with and he was not caught by the other side. "Be careful, this guy's body is hard," he warned. Zung. The green slash pierced through the sky and hit Iam's body, knocking it flying. Hawkeye's pupils were full of vigilance, and his sword energy only cut through the opponent's skin. A tiny blood stain splattered. Although Iam's resilience is not as terrifying as Enel's, he is also an awakener of the zoological fruit. This injury is not worth mentioning, and it will recover quickly. Fourth gear, Rubber Ape King Gun. Luffy entered his strongest form. His body was strengthened by domineering, and his body was more elastic, and his fists were more powerful. But stretched out his hand and grabbed Luffy's fist very easily. Iam's heavenly dragon fruit is not known for its brute force like Enel's black dragon fruit, but its strength still has an overwhelming advantage over ordinary people. He grabbed Luffy's hand, pulled him over, and punched him in the face. Boom! The terrifying force formed a punch in the air, and Luffy was bounced off like a cannonball, flying for a long distance in the air. "Luffy!" Shanks shouted. He could feel the horror of Iam's punch. Even if he took it head-on, it would be bad. "It's useless. I'm rubber." Luffy's legs kept hitting the air backwards, flying in the air. Is not good at domineering, so it is not used in normal battles. Ordinary strong people will exercise domineering and turn it into instinctual power. Very rusty, though, and he generally doesn't need to rely on that. The tyrannical body makes his mediocre punches have terrifying lethality. He can also manipulate seawater and clouds. There are various means of attack. His ultimate move, Roar of the Dragon, the high-pressure water line, can also be effective for those with natural abilities. Domineering the things of your D family are really useful. Pondered for a while, and finally condensed domineering. The fist became pitch black. Boom! The four kept fighting in the air. Because the ground below was a seafloor stone, Yimu didn't want to get close and kept flying in the air. He showed terrifying power, suppressing Shanks, Mihawk, and Luffy. Hawkeye was injured in a reckless fight with Die. Yimu seized the opportunity, waved his hand, and countless thunders fell from the clouds. "Stop!" Shanks stared, and the invisible field spread. The wind, still, and the clouds dissipated. And the countless thunderbolts, as if they had been ordered by the king, really stopped. Tyrant territory. The highest level overlord is domineering and has the power to command nature. Iam's expression froze, and a solemn expression appeared on his face. "I didn't expect that someone would be able to do this. I thought it was already wiped out. However, at this level, it's still a bit underwhelming." Boom! The purple thunder flashed again, and the razor danced. The dark clouds rolled and the wind blew. A huge white dragon appeared in the sky. "I am a heavenly dragon who ate the heavenly dragon fruit. I am the ruler of the sky. Everything in the sky will be surrendered to me." A thunderous voice sounded, the rolling dragons overflowing with power, Yim's domineering declaration like a law. Shanks was horrified to find that the nature that should have surrendered to him was out of control. Thunder, wind, cloud, all turned to Yimu's command. His tyrant's territory was compressed to a very small range. Iam's manipulation of the sky is even more powerful than Shanks'. Dark clouds began to gather, and silver-white razors flickered in and out of the clouds. The rumbling roar continued. The wind became stronger, and Luffy's straw hat fell from the top of his head, not knowing where it was blown by the wind. In the face of such an opponent, he no longer has the energy to pay attention to his straw hat. The wind propelled IM, sending it flying towards Shanks at a terrifying speed. The huge body occupied the field of vision, and the inconvenience of Shanks' left leg became a fatal flaw at this moment. Pushing with just one right leg, he struggled to dodge IM's head-on but not the subsequent tail sway. Boom! Shanks was covered in blood and fell down. Shanks! Luffy yelled anxiously. 590th second, King of Heaven, Luffy. Boom! An aura similar to Shanks, but not the same, erupted centered on Luffy. Domineering and sublime. Tyrant territory. Luffy himself has the aptitude of a king. When he fought against Crocodile and Milo, he implicitly revealed to guide the things around him, let them help Luffy, and tilt the scale of victory in his favor. Ability. In the confrontation with Shiji, the special thunderstorm climate at that time was used to reveal the prototype of the territory. After a long period of growth, Luffy's body and aura have reached the minimum limit for revealing the Dominator's territory. He has unparalleled aptitude and can quickly absorb the experience of others in battle and grow rapidly. Shanks opened the territory of the Tyrant, which led to Luffy's domineering. In addition, IM severely injured the red hair and severely injured it, which stimulated Luffy again. Therefore, he directly understood the highest stage of this tyrannical arrogance. Although Luffy's territory is still a little immature and not as sophisticated as Shanks', it is full of vigor and has the potential and possibility to move to a higher level. IM using his ability to suppress Shanks' territory, which has already involved most of his energy, and has no spare energy to suppress Luffy. Red and black lightning like a domineering collision wrapped around Luffy's fist. He came to IM, as if crossing space, at an unbelievably fast speed. Boom! The red-black fist collided with IM's dragon horn, breaking it. Hold head high. IM screamed and fell down. He hit Ralph Drew on the back, and at the last moment, IM wrapped himself in wind and water as a buffer to avoid direct contact with the seafloor stone. Cough cough, Shanks got up, and IM's tail flick made him smash his ribs. He wasn't very lucky, his broken ribs pierced his guts. Luffy, you, Shanks looked shocked. Huh, Shanks, are you okay? Luffy was still confused about what he had done just now. He only felt that he seemed to be in control of everything around him. The sky, the ocean, everything was like his partner. Having caught the power of the partner, he exerted far more power than usual. Ha ha ha, good job, Luffy. If that's the case, then I'll entrust everything to you. Shanks laughed heartily. His tyrant territory, which was suppressed by Yimu, was only a small piece remaining, and it slowly shrank, and finally disappeared. And Luffy's dominant territory keeps expanding. People with domineering looks and arrogance have the qualifications of kings, and kings will constantly conflict and collide with other kings on the way to growth. Every time you defeat a king, you will become stronger. Domineering will also become stronger. Shanks chose to surrender after seeing Luffy's territory. Luffy's territory has been extended to the extreme with his sustenance. He felt that he had more partners, and the power he could draw on was stronger. After breaking through a certain critical point, his territorial territory has undergone a qualitative change. Luffy felt that he knew everything, as if he was the master of the world. What Shanks meant, he didn't need to explain, he already understood. Luffy's temperament has become more calm and reliable. After nodding his head, he said, "Don't worry, I won't let you down." The pair of dragon horns on Im's head are all broken. This is his crown. Without this, his control over the sky is somewhat reduced. Wiping the blood from the corners of his mouth, the golden dragon eyes stared at Luffy indifferently. Under this indifference, there was a trace of imperceptible excitement and fear. Heavenly King the First, haven't seen you for a long time. I still have to face you one day, IM stared at Luffy, but his eyes seemed to travel through time and space, looking at something behind him. 800 years ago, the rulers of the gigantic kingdom, the family, possessed 3 ancient weapons. They are the battleship that can destroy an island with one cannonball, Pluto, the mermaid princess who can command the Sea King class, Sea King, and the ruling base of the D family, King of Heaven. And the essence of King of Heaven is actually the most common power, domineering. 800 years ago, the practice method of domineering was not popularized, and it was firmly controlled by the D family. In the absence of domineering and sea tower stones, those with natural abilities are tantamount to gods. Only the rulers of the great kingdom, the D family, can deal with them. This also became an important reason for their rapid expansion and became the most powerful country at the time. The highest stage of domineering is the territory of the tyrant, and the person who brings the territory of the tyrant to the extreme is the ancient weapon, King of Heaven. According to records, only people with the name D can do this. The 20 kings allied forces that IM formed at the time did not master the means of domineering. I am not domineering at that time, but after overthrowing the huge kingdom, IM's need for domineering is very small. He is already on top of the world. Without demand, there is no motivation, so IM is still a domineering rookie. Luffy stared at IM, and there was only one indifferent sentence: "I'll knock you down." The world has told him the truth. Luffy heard the past from Ralph Drew, who lived through that era. Rumbling. The ground beneath his feet shook, like an earthquake. Sensing the familiar aura of IM and the King of Heaven, Ralph Drew began to wake up. At the beginning, it was the direct factor that destroyed the huge kingdom. Of course, it is not unfamiliar to those little bugs who have caused damage to it and left a lot of impression on it. It looks like Ralph Drew was woken up by us. We must hurry up and decide the winner, otherwise it will be bad if he waits for it to go mad. IM's eyes showed a strong fear. This is an extremely dangerous weapon. IM tried to control the sky, but got no response. Because nature has surrendered to Luffy, I am incapable of suppressing the full form of the King of Heaven. He turned into a half-dragon form, with broken horns and fluttering hair. Clothes rustled in the wind, and the dragon's scales reflected light. Unable to manipulate natural elements, he can only rely on his own to fight. White wing membranes grow on the arms, and fins on the ears fly. Tightening his body, it took a long time for IM to cover his whole body with a domineering look of armament. At this moment, Luffy was also gathering strength, and red and black thunder and lightning kept gathering on his fist. D.S. Undead, it's time for you to end the curtain. IM flew into the sky and charged towards Luffy. I'm One Piece, Luffy shouted, facing IM. Chapter 593, Dragon King of the Sea. Arriving at Ralph Drew, Luffy stopped calling him the man who was going to become One Piece. He is the Pirate King now. As for Luo, Hawkeye and Shanks, who are also in Ralph Drew, they are all ignored. Boom. The huge fist collided with IM's strange claws covered with dragon scales and wing membranes. A punch of air erupted, and a gust of wind blew away the dark clouds. Longway and Domineering dye the world in two colors. IM's side is purple-blue, while Luffy's side is a sky-blue color like his Domineering. When IM broke through the Godzilla blockade, he had already consumed a lot of stamina. And the biggest attack method, the ability to manipulate the elements in the sky, was suppressed. His combat effectiveness plummeted. IM gradually losing ground. His arm is broken, and the black and red lightning is the manifestation of natural forces, eroding his body. After breaking IM's arm, Luffy's fist was castrated and printed on his face. After ruling the world for 800 years, the original king of the Tianlong people, Yimu, was finally pulled down from the altar at this moment. When Robin watched all this from a distance, tears welling in his eyes. She had been oppressing her in the past, blocking the mountain in front of her, and the world government was defeated. Luffy won, but his face was still serious. He sensed a great crisis, far greater than the oppression Mom brought. That vast, majestic creature has awakened. There was a gap in the sea, and a big black hole appeared. Like an abyss, IM was engulfed by the abyss. The entrance of the cave was suddenly closed, and with the closure of the big hole, a gust of wind emerged. Luffy, who was flying high in the sky, understood, this is Ralph Drew's mouth. After it wakes up, with its instinct, it wants to devour the vitality of the Tianlong people. So I was the first target. Trazai's surgery hasn't been completed yet, it's troublesome now. Luffy really didn't know how to stop the creature below. That magnificent body was simply not something that humans could compete with. Ralph Drew's head was raised up to the clouds. Luffy's comrades on the Sunny are already freaking out. Usopp lay upright on the deck and pretended to be dead, muttering, I'm dead, don't eat me, I'm dead, don't eat me. Chopper also followed his example, lying on the deck not knowing, holding his breath. Sanji complained, do you two think it's a bear? Zoro, who has always been calm, was also stunned. He suspected that he was dreaming. The creature in front of them is even bigger than the projection of the Sky Island residents they saw on Gaia Island. Brook shouted, my bones are shaking with fright although I have no bones. Yo ha ho ha ho ho. Ow. The deafening sound sounded, and the terrifying air waves directly rolled up the tsunami hundreds of meters high. The Sunny bobbed in the waves like a small boat in a storm. The sea was rising, Ralph Drew stretched his wings, the water was swept away, and the seabed could be seen. The sea was overturned. Unlike ordinary sea dragon lizards, Ralph Drew has a pair of very beautiful sea blue membrane wings. It shook its body, and the Halu stones fell one after another, revealing its blue dragon scales. The dragon scales exude the same breath as the sea. The true face of Ralph Drew is a sea king who ate the sea dragon fruit. Humans can't provide the massive vitality required for the awakening of the dragon fruit, but the sea kings can. It also developed the fruit to the level of awakening, turning it into a real dragon. It has the power to manipulate the sea. This kind of power is a double-edged sword for the capable person, which can deal with the enemy and possibly hurt himself. It has 3 layers of dragon scales. The first layer is ordinary dragon scales. The second layer is hollow, and like the outer scales of Enel, it has the function of isolating the power of seawater. And the third floor is the crystallization of the sea, the dragon scales with the nature of the sea floor stone. Ralph Drew's roar spread far and wide, causing Carter, Ace, and Akainu who were in the melee to stop. A chill surged from his body, and he stared into the distance in disbelief. Especially Milo and Fujitora, trembling all over. What is it? Akainu's face was gloomy, and that was the direction the 5 old stars and the Straw Hats were leaving. He originally thought that this time he could cleanse the world, but this change happened. Meow, Carter felt like he wanted to run away. Well, this is not cowardice, it is a strategic retreat at most. Is that a national treasure? Augustine couldn't help laughing. Just by feeling the momentum, he felt a deep sense of powerlessness. What kind of monster is that? Foo, that monster that had been sleeping for 800 years has awakened. I don't know who will control it. The Straw Hat, or the world government, or the one who woke up is the one who will bring the whole world into despair. The demon of the abyss. The future of this world has already been decided. It's really exciting. Doflamingo laughed wildly. Because he slept for a long time, Ralph Drew was still a little confused. Stumbled to stay in place, do not know what to think, like drowsiness. Talazai, hurry up, you can do it, Luffy yelled at the control tower. I see. Luo used the fruit of the operation to cut a passage into Ralph Drew's body. Love Drew's nerves also appear to be enlarged versions that can be seen with the naked eye. The dense nerves make people dizzy. Sweat kept dripping down Luo's face, and his back was also wet. He also felt the desperate terror of Ralph Drew. If he fails, then human beings may only be able to live in the shadow of a runaway terrifying monster in the future, like ants. Ralph Drew's eyes gradually faded from confusion and became awake. Who I am? How am I here? What am I going to do? After a short period of sobriety, its eyes were gradually filled with tyranny, and a terrifying aura raged. Give me, give me, give me. It is crazily longing for the vitality of the Tianlong people, like a person who has committed a drug addiction. Unsatisfied Ralph Drew has the urge to destroy everything. Please, wake up, calm down. A soft and waxy voice entered its mind directly. With the help of a sea dragon lizard, White Star approached Ralph Drew and tried to communicate with it. It felt very affectionate to that voice and wanted to pamper it. It felt like the other party was my daughter. Yes, that's right, it's my daughter. The identity of the White Star Sea King has no command effect on Jesla, and it is even less likely to affect such a powerful Ralph Drew. But she can make the other person feel instinctively kind. Ralph Drew struggled, torn between sobriety and madness. In the end, he still couldn't hold back that strong desire and fell into a frenzy. The huge dragon claws were raised high, trying to kill the little bug Bai Sheng. But at a critical moment, it stopped. Luo slashed down the tower with one knife, closed the passage he cut out, and the operation was completed. With a smile on his face, he panted and said, "Fortunately not to be humiliated. I want to chat with more like-minded people about One Piece. Black Dragon, WeChat pays attention to Yudu literature, chats about life, and finds confidence. Chapter 584 Black Dragon and Sea Dragon. You Captain Bucky, do you think of a way?" Bucky's subordinates burst into tears. They quietly left the field and marched towards Ralph Drew. When the sea dragon slept, its wings turned into the seabed, and when it raised its wings, the sea overturned. Bucky's ship was affected and was caught in a huge tsunami. They are riding the waves now, moving fast. "Bucky, what can I do?" His face was calm, but he was actually panicked. The ship took off and was thrown high into the air by the waves. I'm going to die." Cabbage and Mochi both embraced and cried. When the ship fell, 3 used his candle ability to cushion it so that the pirate ship didn't fall apart. Luffy and Bucky, who fell in front of him, looked at each other. All were stunned. "Straw Hat, why are you here?" "Wait, this is Ralph. I've become the Pirate King," Bucky said in astonishment. "It's me who became One Piece," Luffy retorted. I'm clearly the Pirate King. You see, I even flew up the pirate ship. Now, here's the flag of Lao Su." Bucky flicked his arm and pointed to the clown pirate flag that was flying high. It's me. Are you right, Shaola? I'm the Pirate King," Luffy shouted. "No matter how much you quibble, you can't change the fact that I am the Pirate King." "And Shaola, who is this?" It's you." A huge, magnificent voice sounded. Ralph Drew answered Luffy. In a short period of time, the two of them have successfully established a friendship. The voice was a dull roar in Bucky's ears, which he didn't understand. But there was one thing he realized, that is, the current Ralph Drew is awake. Bucky's mouth widened, too frightened to speak. Wait, the little pull in the Straw Hat Boy's mouth doesn't mean Ralph Drew. How is it so small? Is that national treasure awake? What should we do? Milo looked at Carter. Meow, Carter himself wanted to know what to do. Whether it's the Straw Hat or the world government, the Black Dragon pirates won't be able to please them. There's no way Enel got lost to Ralph Drew and happened to grab control, right? The tentacles on the half-beastized Caroline's head moved slightly. She took out a small phone and shouted, "Sir Carter, there is news from His Highness Enel." Carter picked up the phone bug and roared, "YC, where did you go?" Ha, don't care so much about such small details. I feel that my strength is not enough, so I retreat. Repair. Enel hiccuped several times in a row. "YC, have you gone to dinner?" Blue veins appeared on Carter's forehead. "Eating too much, a little indigestion." "Indigestion," Carter said in his heart, "that I remember that you are a person with the ability to swallow fruit. What did you eat?" "Actually indigestion." "Carter, where are you now?" "Don't go near Ralph," Enel warned. Far away in the windless belt, he also felt the shuddering breath. "I see, I'll retreat." "Well, that's good. I'll be there in a minute." In the sky, Enel casually dropped the phone bug. The huge black dragon set off a storm, and its dark wings blocked the sun all day. The terrifying aura made the world change color. He flew up into the clouds, heading towards the breath that was guiding him in the distance. Ralph Drew's body shrank completely, from a terrifying size of more than 30,000 meters to 500 meters. "Oh, that's fine too. It's amazing," Luffy exclaimed. "It's just a use of strength. I have condensed the strength of my body to the extreme. This is my smallest size, but it is also the strongest state," Ralph Drew said. Luffy, a weak voice sounded, and Shanks felt that he needed to be rescued. Luffy then remembered Shanks, who was seriously injured. Luo was a little out of strength, so he had to send Red to the Sunny to Chopper. Long Yi, Bai Xing also felt that Ralph Drew was very kind. Ralph Drew looked at Bai Xing with a kind expression on his face. "Okay, let's go here. You all hurry up and leave. Next, it's not safe here." Ralph Drew used control of the waves, rolled Bucky's boat off his body, and pulled Luffy and others away. Rushed to the Sunny. Not safe. Luffy was a little puzzled. A terrible opponent is coming, an unprecedented powerful enemy. Ralph Drew looked solemn. Anil did not hide his breath, and Ralph Drew felt his approach. A strong enemy? What can be called a strong enemy by such a guy? After Luffy turned around, Zoro and the others were all very puzzled. "Come on." Luffy and Ralph's faces were terrifyingly gloomy. Darkness enveloped the sky, and the sun was swallowed. A roar came from the sky, and the shaking sound waves directly tore the deck of Bucky's ship. Luffy used his authority as the Heavenly King to calm the vibration of the air. If it weren't for him, just this roar, few people on Bucky's ship would have survived. A black dragon of the same size as Ralph Drew at the moment appeared from the clouds. Anil, how is it possible? How could he become so powerful? Obviously it wasn't like this last time. Brook panicked. He summoned the Lord of Yellow Springs to fight against the opponent, and had a certain recognition of Anil's strength. No. After Chopper's emergency treatment, Shanks walked out of the infirmary. Shen Sheng said, "That monster, growing all the time. Has it reached this point? He is far more terrifying than we imagined." "Oh, not dead yet." Enel glanced at Shanks, then ignored him. Weak enough to not be interested. His only opponent now is the ancient behemoth, the sea dragon Ralph Drew, who woke up from his 800-year slumber. A wave gently pushed the boat, sending Luffy and the others far away. It feared that the aftermath of the battle would reach them. No one is qualified to intervene in its battle with Enel. Anil stared at the huge sea dragon with undisguised aggression in his eyes. Its blue dragon scales are as beautiful as gems, and its body is slender, majestic. "I've been single for a long time, and I look good when I see a dragon." Heilong's body is not as thin as Tianlong's, and the opponent's hand-to-hand combat ability is not weak. Moreover, the sapphire-like dragon scales exude the fluctuation of the sea, which is very dangerous. Anil came to this conclusion roughly. He didn't dare to rush up blindly, although the outermost scales could prevent seawater, but once the dragon scales of the sea dragon pierced through the body, he would be completely powerless. It's deadly. Chapter 595 Dragon King Festival. Ralph Drew was also looking at the huge black dragon in front of him, which was the same order of magnitude as him. Although it has experienced the huge war 800 years ago, its actual fighting awareness is actually not high. It is crushing against others, and it easily wins with its unrivaled terrifying power. It is also the first time that he has faced such an opponent that is comparable to himself. Enel's hostility has not been concealed, but Ralph Drew asked stupidly, "What do you want?" It doesn't really want to fight, it's trying to negotiate. The sound that sounded like thunder to ordinary people was normal to Enel. It's a very nice female voice, crisp and a little nervous. Enel rolled his eyes. "Are you stupid? Can't you see that I want to kill you? I warn you, don't mess around, I'm very strong." Ralph Drew looked at Enel with great vigilance, and shrank back unconsciously. "Why do you feel like you are persecuting women from good families?" Enel was speechless. However, what should be killed still has to be killed. He will not allow such an existence to threaten him. The Dragon King, there can only be one. A black ball spewed out of Enel's mouth. Breath of the Black Dragon. This move is fast and not very destructive. Just a preliminary test. In the eyes of ordinary humans, this is an energy ball with a diameter of tens of meters, and the power condensed on it can easily destroy several warships. Ow! Ralph Drew raised the dragon claw and slapped the flame breath away with great ease. Boom! A small mushroom cloud rose into the sky. The compressed air formed a huge shock wave, setting off a huge wave. The dazzling light that burst out was clearly visible to the straw hats who had been washed away by the waves. Ow! Ralph Drew will not sit still, even if he is Mildmanard, he is the top predator after all. When attacked, he was immediately provoked with ferocity. 2 giant dragons flew into the sky, and the elements between heaven and earth fell into chaos because of the terrifying power. The elements were turbulent, and in the darkness, dark clouds rolled, lightning and thunder. Red, black and silver-white lightning flashed together, roaring wildly, and the direction of the blow was not fixed. East for a while, west for a while. This is not the natural wind, but the storm brought about by the fanning of the huge dragon wings. The sea roared, like a hell where countless resentful spirits were howling. Boom! The 2 dragon claws collided, and the sharp claws, which were harder than diamonds, burst out with sparks. Head-to-head collision, roaring, 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 the 2 largest monsters in the world are fighting. Every time it hits, red and black lightning bursts out, setting off a hurricane that is enough to tear up the warship. The roaring thunder and lightning were like drums of war, and the sound of the waves was like a cry. Absolute power, absolute majesty, absolute power, this is the battlefield of the gods that no one can get involved in. This is the festival of the Dragon King. Ralph Drew has no fighting skills, it will use armed colors, rely on its own powerful body, and launch deadly attacks with sharp claws and fangs. But there is no such thing as an instant burst of power. Enel's fighting consciousness is much better than Ralph Drew, but his soul is a little weaker than his strong body, which causes his body's response to be delayed by a beat. There is no way to take advantage of skills. There is no grace or skill in such a battle, it is the collision of the most primitive power and power. Enel punched Ralph Drew in the abdomen, and the sea blue dragon tail swung and hit Enel's face at a tricky angle. The sharp dragon teeth pierced the skin, tore open the huge wound, and the blood flowed and dripped like a waterfall. The swirling blood fell into the sea, dyeing the ocean a bright red. Enel bit Ralph Drew's neck, razor-sharp teeth digging into the flesh, tearing open the artery. Ralph Drew twisted his body and struggled to get rid of it, and the torn dragon scales fell. Enel was very afraid of these broken sea blue dragon scales, and cautiously swallowed them with darkness. Ralph Drew, who has been transformed into an epiphany, has amazing resilience, and the wound has granulated buds and healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. But it was still a lot worse than Enel. Whether it's Ralph Drew or I am, the main development direction is combat power. Only Enel sacrificed a strong force and the development direction is to improve the level of life. The reason why Ralph Drew was on the same level as the current Aner was purely due to its racial superiority. And Enel, relying on constant planning, plundering, and fighting, has reached the present step by step. 2 giant dragons entangled into the sky and flew into the ocean. Everything was in rubble wherever they went, and nothing survived their battle. The sky tore, the clouds dried up. The sea water was lifted and rushed into the air at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Then it turned into rain and fell, and then lifted, and then fell again. The cycle repeats, like the end of the world. They flew over the waters of 8 where the 3 party fleets were fighting, causing storms and tsunamis that were more terrifying than natural disasters, causing 1/3 of the ships to sink into the sea, and the shock wave of the battle torn 1/3 of the ships torn apart. Smash! Akainu was smoking a cigar, with a gloomy face and not speaking. He was powerless to say anything more. Under such absolute overwhelming power, everything was in vain. Regardless of their outcome, what ultimately determines the direction of the world will be the outcome of the battle between those 2 behemoths. What is that? Tautu's eyes were filled with fear. And ordinary Navy pirates are even more unbearable, sitting on the deck. Am I dreaming? That's a god. La ha ha ha, I saw something incredible. Augustine and Doflamingo, whose brain circuits have always been abnormal, sat opposite each other. They were drinking tea. Dover, that's what you've been after. That's right, but I failed, not qualified to sit on that throne. I am so surprised that someone can fight a national treasure. If I read correctly, that black dragon is Enel this world. What will the future be like? I really look forward to it. Foo yee yee. Meow. Carter stared blankly at Enel, who flew by, and said somewhat uncertainly, why see? Carter, is that Enel? Milo looked suspiciously at the direction the dragon was going, his tone trembling. I guess so. Carter wasn't sure. Enel's aura changed so much that he didn't even recognize him. Way ha ha ha, you really deserve to be the captain. It's really amazing. Bashas laughed loudly. Shiliu lit the cigar and sheathed the knife. The best decision I've ever made seems to be to join you. Everyone was concerned about the outcome of the battle between the two, but Carter had something else in his mind. It had a bold idea. It sensed that the sea blue dragon was a female. And Wei she is also a dragon. Could this be domestic violence? Chapter 596 Dragon King Festival 2. The azure blue and almost black dim light and the sea blue, clear light interlaced and collided in the clouds. The roar from the sky gradually disappeared. Oka and Milo were no longer able to observe that phenomenon. I really want to go and see it, this kind of peak match. If I miss it, it will probably be a lifetime regret. Milo's thoughts of killing him couldn't help but get more and more intense. Don't get in the way of Vesey. Carter pressed him down. In the sky, above the clouds, Anil and Raftru faced each other, and there were no obvious wounds on their bodies. The dragon blood sprinkled along the way does not seem to be shed by them. As long as the injury is not too serious, the strong resilience can make them recover quickly. This is destined to be a protracted battle. They had hit Marinjoa from the final place, and had flown halfway through the Great Route. What on earth are you afraid of? Ralph Drew said. Fear? Are you kidding me? Is there anything I should be afraid of? Said Enel indifferently. Then what are you in a hurry for? You are afraid that I will threaten you. There is no need for us to fight. I am not interested in the throne of the world. The throne, whoever wants that kind of thing can take it. I just hate being restrained by others. I can't, and I can't restrain you. Stop the war. The world is big enough for the two of us. Ralph Drew said sincerely. It is an absolute powerhouse, and before eating the sea dragon fruit, I am paid a huge price to capture it. After awakening the sea dragon fruit, it can be said to be invincible. Ralph Drew can't even be considered a sea king anymore, but some kind of higher, more powerful species. You demon's dragon. I am is also a dragon, but he is still too weak to be on the same level as it. It has been sleeping for the past 800 years. Apart from the influence of Im's order on its will, it actually does not resist this order. Because of loneliness. There is only one loneliness between heaven and earth. It is willing to escape this loneliness by sleeping forever. The appearance of Enel filled the void. The same hugeness, the same grandeur, and the same majesty made it find the group. So it prefers to get along with Enel. Enel said with a sarcastic expression on his face, Are you and the Straw Hat Boys companions? I will kill them. That's right, they helped me get out of the predicament of being controlled, and I won't allow others to hurt them. Ralph Drew was a little sad. Then there is nothing to say. There can be no peace between us. Enel did not care about the destruction caused by his actions. He won't wantonly kill civilians without a purpose, but he doesn't care if he accidentally hurts them. Now his own existence is equivalent to a natural disaster. Even a mere passing flight over a city can create a storm that can have devastating effects. It's good that Luffy doesn't mind his own business, but their personality will definitely be hostile to Enel. And Ralph Drew, who is grateful to the Straw Hats for helping him, will also become Enel's enemy. Is there no possibility of reconciliation? Reconciliation. Where are you letting my face go? Talking more is useless. Fight. All obstacles, I will destroy them all. Destroy them. Unlike Ralph Drew, Enel did not feel the loneliness of being an alien. Ralph Drew's smallest form is a 500-meter-long dragon, while Anil can return to his adult form without any inconvenience. What's more, he has the ability of a cat's dragon and dragon fruit. Lonely, non-existent. Boom. Anil bit the claw that Ralph Drew was grabbing at him, and punched it in the head. The huge blue flying dragon fell down, smashed into the ancient city of Pan. The roof collapsed and the pillars broke. The huge body and downward kinetic energy caused a terrifying impact. This majestic city that stood on the top of the Red Earth continent for 800 years was destroyed in an instant. Not all the draconians that I am killed and deprived of their vitality. He also left behind seeds for their race to multiply and expand again. Prepare to take control of Ralph Drew again in the future. And after this impact, there are very few seeds left. The Tianlong people have tended to exterminate their clans. Im's captive breeding program for the Draco was too successful. The rest of the Tianlong people are even more stupid than pigs. A Tianlong man walking in the aisle of two buildings saw the broken bridge in front of him. He didn't expect that he had just escaped from death, but instead showed an angry look. How did you do it? How could this bridge collapse? Hurry up and fix it for me 10 minutes, if you can't fix it, you will die. When the smoke cleared, Ralph Drew stood up from the rubble. The heavenly dragon man was not afraid at all, instead he looked excited. That's great. Go get it and make it a pet for me. The attendant next to him was sweating coldly on his forehead. Can this thing be a pet? Just standing in front of it made my legs tremble. My lord, I have to find someone to build the bridge. Although it is impossible to build the bridge in 10 minutes, it is better than facing an impossible opponent. The attendant wanted to divert the attention of the Tianlong people. Bastard, can't you just do bridge repair and pet catching at the same time? You idiot. As expected of a great Tianlong person, your wisdom is as radiant as the sun in the sky. The attendant said with his conscience. HMPH, how can your highness's wisdom be understandable to you mortals? The Tianlong man held his nose. This was what he just came up with, and he praised his wit. Darkness converged towards Enel's mouth, and a domineering sphere with a large number of armed colors took shape. Roar of the Black Dragon. The sphere turned into a dark ray and shot away. Ralph Drew jumped up, flapping his wings and turning his body to avoid the blow. The rays hit directly inside the ancient city of Pan. A terrifying force erupted, and an earth-shattering explosion sounded. The dazzling light is like the sun falling from the sky. Even the Navy headquarters, the G1 base, and the Chambord Islands have seen the light on the top of the Red Earth continent. A mushroom cloud rose and everything in the center of the explosion shattered. Mary Joa disappeared, leaving only a large hole in the ground. The crater is full of large and small cracks, spreading all the way to the edge of the laterite continent. From time to time broken stones fell. Ow! Roar! Enel and Ralph Drew roared menacingly at each other in the air. The roar stirred the air and affected the red soil continent. The air trembled, the earth quaked, and the ocean rolled. Those cracks are also growing. There was another earth-shattering loud noise, and the red earth continent cracked open. Countless rubble fell, and large chunks of soil and rocks slid down into the sea. The pirates who happened to pass by looked at the terrifying scene of the sky and the earth cracking, and their faces showed a thick color of fear. The air route is terrible, they want to go home. I want to chat with more like-minded people about One Piece. Black Dragon, WeChat pays attention to, you do literature, chat about life, find confidence. Chapter 597 Dragon King Festival 3. Darkness pervaded Anil, who changed his fighting style from onslaught to defense. In response to the sea dragon's attack, he devoted part of his energy to launching the dark power. The breath of death spreads, and a terrifying attraction to life force radiates from the darkness that surrounds Enel. Ralph Drew's face changed, it felt it. From the gaps in the scales, a trace of vitality flowed out. Enel can already directly extract the vitality of. Now this is not just a trick he uses to aid growth, it is also a means of attrition when fighting opponents of this level. Life is drawn, and the fear of death hangs over Ralph Drew. This pain is far greater than the pain of being torn by the claws. It's as if you've been put in an airtight jar, and then the air is drained bit by bit, and you can't do anything but feel the approach of death. Ow! Ralph Drew stepped up the offensive. The spines on its back stood up like a sharp bone sword. The power of the sea lingers above the bone spurs. It rammed into Enel desperately. Enel vigilantly avoided the bone spurs. He did not dare to use injury for injury play against Ralph Drew. In terms of physical strength and resilience, this is beneficial to him, but the scales on the other side's body that exude the power of the sea-like sea tower stones make him terrified. Ralph Drew bit Enel's claw, but it failed to break through the defense under the powerful domineering. But it also made Enel difficult to get rid of. Holding Enel's wings, he pressed on him and dashed towards the sea. Boom! Enel felt that what he had hit was not the sea, but the steel. The huge impact splashed the sea water, and a fishy smell filled the mouth. Enel's internal organs were injured. Ralph Drew used his abilities to fortify the sea water, making it difficult to flow. Enel suffered a greater impact. In the sea water will not become a hindrance for the sea dragon, but it is a favorable attack method. Enel's movements became slow, and he couldn't keep up with his opponent's movements. Fortunately, this does not change his established strategy. As long as you don't make too many mistakes, this will be a battle of endurance and physical strength. Enel mainly focuses on defense, using the ability to devour vitality to weaken Ralph Drew a little, and the plundered vitality can restore his physical strength. Under this situation, the final winner must be him. The Black Dragon Pirates, the Straw Hat Alliance, and the high-level officials of the three sides of the Navy stared wide-eyed on a desert island. They are waiting for the result of the dragon battle. The Navy is actually out, I am lost, and now the final winner is between Luffy and Enel. But no matter which side wins, it will replace the world government as the future master. After the war, what is needed is a stable order. Whether it is the Black Dragon Pirates or the Straw Hat Alliance, they are essentially pirates. It's okay to let them collect protection fees to prevent the island from being invaded by other pirates, but if they really want to stabilize the world's political situation and establish a universal rule system, they have to be blinded. Only the Navy has this capability. Although the Revolutionary Army is also quite good at constructing new rules. But they are not strong enough. Even if the Straw Hat wins, they can't use the power of Ralph Drew again and again, leaving the Navy and helping them a lot. So the Navy is here to stay as the executive agency of the future. As soon as the outcome of the battle comes out, they will pledge their allegiance to the victor and help them form a new world government. Although they were helpless, they were powerless to resist in the face of the overwhelming force. We can only compromise and maintain justice as much as possible. A month passed, and Enel and Ralph Drew walked around the world while fighting. Back to the waters near the end of the Great Fairway. Carter looked nervous at the light shining in the sky. It's not over yet, it's been more than a month. What an exaggerated physical strength. Shiliu said lightly. Although the state has declined, the breath is still strong and terrifying. If there is no change, it is not impossible to fight for a few more months. Milo sat casually on a stone. Are these two bastards trying to destroy the whole world? We have already received the news of how many towns were destroyed by the aftermath of their battles. There are disasters all over the world. Crane looked gloomy. Boom. Enel collided with Ralph Drew, then separated. The blue energy ball condensed in the sea dragon's mouth, and then turned into a divergent ray. Roar of the sea dragon. Enel was hit and fell into the sky. Ralph Drew pressed his hand on his head and led him down to the desert island where Luffy, Carter and others were. The shock wave erupted, and the entire island was torn apart by the huge impact. A small half sank into the sea. "The sea," Carter called eagerly. "Don't worry, he still has a strong voice," Milo said. Enel is fully defensive, using all his powers to defend and regenerate. The dark dragon scales are wrapped in domineering, hard and terrifying. And every time there is an injury, it will regenerate rapidly at an incredible speed, comparable to a phoenix. Moreover, there is also the vitality drawn from the opponent to supplement himself. Apart from being a bit mentally exhausted, his physical condition has not declined much. On the other hand, Ralph drew, his vitality was pulled away by anal little by little, and he was exhausted. Little raw. Luffy looked at Ralph Drew, tears flashing in his eyes. He saw the situation clearly, and it seemed that anal was being rubbed on the ground, but in fact it was Ralph Drew who was at a disadvantage. Ralph Drew directly sent a message to Luffy through spiritual dialogue. Of all the people present, only Luffy heard what it was saying. Luffy, I will try to weaken this guy's spiritual power, create opportunities, and then I will ask you all. I am very happy to meet you. Treat Shirahoshi well, you are the real king of the world. Quote. Ralph Drew pressed Anal's head with his claws and looked at Luffy calmly. Wait, can't we do it now? Together we will not lose. Luffy shouted. Ralph Drew shook his head, not now. He didn't show any flaws, you have no chance. Remember, his dragon body is invincible, the only chance of victory is the soul. Well, let's talk about it here. I can't hold this guy down anymore. Rumbling. A huge roar sounded, and Anal's head slowly lifted up. Ralph Drew tried his best, but he couldn't stop it. Roar. The terrifying roar turned into a destructive sound wave, blasting a big hole in the ground. Ralph Drew flew into the sky, and Anal flapped his wings and chased after him. Two giant dragons circled in circles in the clouds. Ralph Drew's eyes flashed fiercely, and it was going to die. Anal has a huge advantage. Although it is safer to consume slowly, he is also tired of this war of attrition and does not mind a quick solution. Luffy put on a straw hat, which Shirahoshi helped him find. He stared intently at the battle in the sky, waiting for what Ralph Drew called an opportunity. Chapter 598 Dragon King Festival 4. Hey, stupid cat, are we running this far? Carter took Milo and others to the proverb and ran far away. Meow, the straw hats are also there. YC may roar over there. You can go there if you don't mind. Carter shrugged. Let's forget it. Milo's back was cold, but he had the experience of being accidentally injured by Ainir's roar. At that time, Anal was not as powerful as he is now. The power of the roar is already amazing, and now, if you rub it, you will die. Look over there, the Straw Hats seem to be planning something. Shiliu reminded. Milo saw the Straw Hat pirates gathered together, and wanted to eavesdrop with his knowledge, but was blocked by Luffy. Cut the realm of the tyrant, it's an intractable power. Luffy has completely mastered the territory of the tyrant that has developed to the extreme, and his combat power is still above the four emperors. Moreover, this ability is very comprehensive, and now he has a good chance of winning against the past Yim one-on-one. The Straw Hat pirates formed a circle, and Luffy sat cross-legged on the ground. To the rest of the people, guys, Shaola told me just now. It can't beat Ainil. What you mean, Ralph Drew will lose? A trace of fear flashed in Nami's eyes. Well, it told me a plan. It found that Ainil was able to devour life force to strengthen himself, so once it was defeated, Ainil would definitely devour its corpse. Hey, you mean Ralph Drew is going to die? Sanji was smoking a cigarette. Luffy looked ugly and nodded. That was also our chance. Shaola said that its vitality was strong enough, and it would take a long time for Enel to digest its power. At that time, there would be a mismatch between his soul and his body. Brook, can you pull someone else's soul out? That it is indeed possible. But Luffy, this requires the cooperation of that person, and I can't guarantee that the soul can be sent back. Brook replied. Luffy nodded and looked at Luo again. Terazai, you should be able to send your soul into someone else's body, right? Luo glanced at Brook. This principle is similar to the personality transplant operation. If there is a yellow spring fruit to pull the soul out, it will be much less difficult. But I can't guarantee that the soul can be sent into the black dragon. The level is too different. Quote. Luo already understood the plan that Luffy said. He wants to let Brook pull out his soul, and then let himself send his soul to Ainil's body, and the two will fight for the soul. I'm not optimistic about your odds, Luo said. But you have to try, don't you? Luffy's face was firm. I see, then good luck, Straw Hat Master. Boom. The two dragons separated after a collision. Ralph Drew was bruised. Blood kept dripping from the huge wounds. There were no obvious wounds on Enel's body, but there was a trace of exhaustion in his eyes. The short-term confrontation just now was comparable to the consumption of the past half-day. The battle intensified. Ralph Drew seemed to be insane. Even if he was torn open with a bloody wound, he would still leave traces on Enel's body. What? Have you already realized that you have no chance of winning, so you started to give up on yourself? Enel's eyes were more vigilant, and the dying beasts were the most dangerous. Ralph Drew's eyes flickered with fierce light, and the momentum on his body climbed to the top, and the terrifying killing intent made the air thick and hard to breathe. Enel's dragon might is not as good as Ralph Drew, and his soul has always been a lot behind his body, so he is slightly inferior in the competition of spiritual will. However, his dragon body is invincible. The two giant dragons looked at each other, then charged towards each other. Like two knights charging. Ralph Drew bit Enel's left hand tightly, and the kinetic energy brought by the high-speed hedging directly tore his arm. Enel's dragon tail hooked Ralph Drew's retreat, and after a circle, Enel came to the opponent's back. The right claw slammed down fiercely, and the strength of the whole body was condensed into domineering and attached to the dragon claw. The terrifying power penetrated directly through Ralph Drew's body, shattering its heart. Ow! Ralph Drew screamed, his pupils gradually dilated. With no focus in his eyes, he fell down. It's not dead, its heart is torn apart. Given enough time, it can still recover. But Enel wouldn't give it that time. A black energy ball slowly converged in Enel's mouth. The diameter can reach tens of meters. This is not darkness, but the substantiated domineering. Enel used his terrifying physical strength to condense such a terrifying attack. At his mouth, the space has begun to shatter. Like a cracked mirror, it made a crisp sound. One after another black cracks spread in the void like spider webs. Everyone who sensed the black sphere was horrified. Hey, what a joke. Can domineering be able to do this? What a real monster. Akutagawa's face showed a morbid and fanatical expression. It's so beautiful, the death of a giant beast like Ralph Drew, the sea stained with blood, it's amazing. This guy is sick again. The people next to him moved their steps to distance themselves from him. Herring twitched the corners of her mouth and took out the Halu stone chain to tie him up. Stupid fish, well done. Akutagawa, tied into a zongzi, squirmed like a caterpillar. He wants to get a little closer. He's going to pursue art. Go and admire the death of that magnificent creature. Boom. Dazzling rays of light shot out, and the impact formed by domineering was like a spear cast by a god, tearing the sky and piercing the ocean. Hotter than the sun, brighter than the sun. A huge light group burst out, the sea transpired. Looking around, all the sea water in a radius of tens of kilometers has disappeared. The dry sea exposed the seabed, and there was a huge deep pit on the seabed, and there was a faint rise of heat. Ralph Drew's torn body lay in a pool of blood, completely unable to perceive its sound. But that strong body could not be completely destroyed even by the roar of Enel using 2/3 of his strength. Proverbs flew in the air, and the water rushed toward the dry area. There was only sea water flowing in the whole world, making a loud noise like a waterfall. Everyone looked at this scene that was far better than any natural disaster, and their eyes were dull. Enel flew towards Ralph Drew. The life force overflowing from the huge corpse was attracting every cell in his body. Darkness spreads under the sea. Trajay, Brook, let's go. The rest stopped in front of him. Zoro took a step forward and said, Luffy, we are partners, this is not a battle for you alone. Although Usopp's feet were trembling, he still insisted and shouted, I am a brave sea warrior. You can't leave me this time. You can't waste the opportunity that Shaola has created for us with his life and block the souls of all of us. Today, I'm super is amazing. Frankie shouted. I want to chat with more like-minded people about the Black Dragon of the Pirate King. Follow Yudu Literature on WeChat, chat about life, and find confidence tilde. Chapter 581. We are the Straw Hat Pirates. Massive vitality poured out of the body. In the war on the top, the vitality that Enel gained was like the gap between a trickle and a big river. The huge black dragon was lying on the seabed, and the seawater was constantly being used to fill the huge ravine blown up by Enel's roar. The huge tsunami that could easily drown the island washed over Enel, but it couldn't make him move. 30,000 meters. This is the uncontrolled body shape of Enel after he is completely dragonized. If he can beat Ralph Drew, then of course he is of the same order of magnitude, both in terms of strength and size. Enel closed his eyes and digested this harvest calmly. He is now at ease and relaxed. He is already invincible. No one can threaten him anymore. No one can stop him from doing anything. The 4 emperors, the navy, and the world government have all been defeated by him. You can do whatever you want. No one can restrain it, and there is nothing to be afraid of. Free. But what the hell am I trying to do? Enel was a little confused. In the past, when I was weak, I wanted to be strong, and when I was strong, I wanted to be stronger. One person to overturn the whole world, this has always been the goal of Enel. In order to be able to make waves everywhere and not capsize, he chased power. I want to visit all over the world and see the fantastic scenery of Pirate World. That's what he really wanted to do. If the world wasn't so ruthless and savage, he wouldn't need to be so obsessed with power. But in his spare time of chasing power, he has already seen most of the scenery in the world. In the 2 years since the war on top, he has been wandering around in the shape of a dragon, wandering the Great Fairway a few times. By the way, Mary Joa hasn't visited yet. However, it was already in ruins, and he never had the chance to see the magnificent city that stood for 800 years. Standing on top of the world, he felt emptiness and confusion. At this point, there is nothing in the world worth his pursuit. Everything is within reach. Suddenly, he found himself in a huge space. The stars shine in the sky, and the stars form a galaxy that traverses the night sky. There are many high-rise buildings, and in the tallest building, a huge black dragon stretches its wings. It looks like a black dragon and a sea dragon, and he has not completely absorbed the power of the sea dragon. Enel knew that this was his own soul space. I came here once when I was fighting with Big Mom in the past. Now he has more enlightenment. That huge black dragon is himself. The projection of the dragon's body from the outside world in the soul space. However, why did it suddenly come here? Is it the ability of the soul? Enel didn't panic much. His soul didn't quite match his body. But compared to others, the tenacity of his soul definitely has an overwhelming advantage. The Straw Hat Gang appeared in his field of vision. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Nami, Usopp, Chopper, Robin, Frankie, and Brook. Brook in soul space is what he looks like on his bounty, not a thin set of bones. They stood in a row, with Luffy in the middle and slightly forward. Enel, here we come. Luffy shouted. Ahahaha Luffy, I am really surprised. You dare to bring it to the door yourself. Should I say that the ignorant are fearless? Enel raised his brows. The presence of the Straw Hats in his space did surprise him a bit. It is estimated that it is Brook's ability. Outside, Luo was unconscious on the back of Aenir's dragon body. He exhausted his stamina, and even if Enel showed his flaws when swallowing the sea dragon, the gap in strength still made this a daunting task. Luo even overdrawn part of his life before sending all the souls of the Straw Hats into Enel's body. Half of her hair turned white. We're not here to die, I'll knock you down or Shao La's sacrifice will be in vain. Luffy said very seriously. Little Ralph Drew, you know, he died because he protected you. I have no trouble with him, and I will become stronger. It's okay to keep Ralph Drew. It's okay for me, there is no threat, but it is on your side. Since it is an enemy, of course I will kill it. Enel pointed at Luffy and said. You bastard, Luffy said gloomily. Asshole, me, don't be naive, Luffy, this is how the world is. The winner lives, the weak dies. Power is justice, and the powerful can distort history. Just like you want to pursue freedom, you also need power. No, the poor bastard of power can only shiver in the corner. Luffy thought about his past, the kingdom of Goya, and what he saw and heard along the way. Fell silent. It won't be like this, it won't be like this. Sabo is working hard. I believe he will build a country where everyone will be free. Universal freedom does exist. In a rule, everyone uses a certain amount of natural freedom in exchange for relative social freedom. But is it possible in this world? Luffy, then you have to become the biggest power, go by yourself. Make rules. In the end, you still need strength. With strength, you can take everything in the world into your hands. Anal moved his remaining arm. Ralph Drew tore off his arm before he died, and the dragon's might that finally erupted seemed to be wounded along with his soul. Is his left arm still growing? I'm not as greedy as you, I only need my partner. We're the Straw Hat Pirates, Luffy and his friends said in unison. They had a good tacit understanding and did not discuss, but responded to their captain accurately at that moment. Opening at the same time, shouting at the same time, no one is out. Ralph Drew is gone, and Luffy no longer says One Piece is not One Piece, and changed his slogan. Why do I feel a little bad when I hear this line? Enel's heart froze. The momentum is indeed very good. But in the end, you have to rely on your strength to speak. Luffy, your soul is indeed very tough, but you chose the wrong opponent. Who do you think I am? I am the king of dragons. Quote. You're alone, you'll never understand. Luffy walked towards Anel quickly, then turned into a trot, and finally sprinted. Zoro put the word Hidao on his mouth, holding the 3 generations of ghosts, and the black sword Chushui followed closely. The rest followed suit. Weak buddy, it's just a drag. Don't cry when your buddy dies in front of you later. Enel greeted him. No responsibility to push the book. Twadimensional universe PS. Visual inspection maybe Unix. I want to chat with more like-minded people about One Piece. Black Dragon. WeChat pays attention to you do literature, talk about life, and find confidence. Chapter 600 King, Sea King and Hades. I won't let my friends die. I will protect them. Luffy was still in normal mode, but he kept up with Enel's movements. He may not be very powerful, but his mental will far exceeds his body. Rubber bullets. Are you playing a house? Enel didn't dodge or block, so he greeted him with his face. Luffy couldn't do any damage at all. It's not over yet. Rubber whip. Rubber tomahawk. Rubber machine gun. Boom. Enel grabbed Luffy's fist, dragged him over, and kicked him in the stomach. Soren's slash has also arrived. Ghost cut. The blade rubbed against Enel's dragon scales, bursting with sparks. It's tough. Directly bit Zoro's knife. Clap clap. A little crack appeared. Devil's foot. Sanji kicked Enel in the stomach, separating the two. Slaying Gunpowder Star. At the same time as Usopp attacked, a pair of arms emerged from his body, locking Enel's joints. Robin's arm only caught him for a moment under Enel's brute force. Boom. The Gunpowder Star exploded on Enel's head. The smoke lifted up temporarily obscured his vision. Thunder Weather. Arm Strength Enhancement Carved Hoof. Frankie Laser. A series of lasers fired in the direction of Enel. The ground was frozen, and Brook used his ability to freeze Enel's feet. When the smoke cleared, Luffy rushed to Enel again. Grizzly Gun. All the members of the Straw Hat Pirates came down, and Enel was knocked back a few steps. But there was no scar on his body. Have you had enough trouble? Stop playing such childish tricks. Enel grabbed Luffy's huge fist, and the dragon's claws pierced his skin. This guy is really hard to deal with. Usopp took a few steps back, with a trace of fear on his face. Dragon Claws. Enel waved his claws forward, directly forming a shock wave. Boom. The formation of the Straw Hat Pirates was broken. Anil came to Usopp and stepped on his head. At the critical moment, Luffy arrived and kicked Enel away. Longway and Tyrant's territory collided, and black and red lightning flickered. Outside, the dragon's body began to get out of control. The huge body kept twisting, and the flapping wings set off huge waves. Roar! The roar turned into a terrifying shock wave. Within tens of kilometers around Enel, no ship could approach. Bai Xing was holding a box, and the bodies of the Straw Hats and the fainted Luo were inside. She sat on a sea dragon lizard, and with its help she flew away from Anil. The huge black dragon followed closely behind. The endless pressure made Bai Xing tremble. Meow YC is running wild. On the Proverbs, Carter looked ahead with a special huge telescope. Let's stay farther away, he can't distinguish between enemy and me now. If we are targeted, we will be finished. Herring was a little scared. Suddenly, the speed of the dragon's body slowed down, and countless sea kings bit his body. One after another, like a pendant, it was covered with dragon bodies. On his back, the sea kings are layered on top of each other. With the combined efforts of countless sea kings, the 30,000-meter-long dragon was crushed to the ground. Roar! The dragon's body became more tyrannical, and dark smoke came out of him, covering all the sea kings who hindered him. Darkness robs life, the sea kings begin to decay, their skin cracks, and the wreckage they leave behind floats at sea with a thick layer covering the surface. Everyone, Bai Xing shed tears, they sacrificed to cover her. Brook put away his sword, picked up the violin and started playing. Huh, Enel glanced at him suspiciously. Brook looked serious, staring at Enel. Our attack really has no effect on you, but you are only one person. A person's power is limited. Those undead who died at your hands are all our helpers. Everyone help us. Take it. The Conjuring. Ah, that's because you are not strong enough. As long as you have enough strength, it doesn't matter if you are alone. Anil raised his brows. Roar of the Black Dragon. Black dark rays shot towards Brook. As I said, I won't let you hurt my partner. Thunder Ape King Spear. Luffy turned into fourth gear, and at the same time launched Tyrant territory. Black and red lightning lingered on his fist, blocking Anil roared without charge. The Black Sea began to roll, and huge sea kings emerged. The souls of those sea kings who were killed by the dragon's body in the outside world did not go to Wonquan, but followed Brook's voice and came to the soul space. It's just a group of prey. Anil stared at the sea kings coldly, with fierce eyes. The sea kings looked at Anil with a bit of horror and a bit of hatred, and then rushed towards him. The huge body like a mountain smashed and smashed many tall buildings. Just a bunch of undead, stop me. Boom. Enel resisted the impact of the thousands of meters long Neptune head-on with his hands. Usopp's eyes widened in horror. Bone, Long Nose, you come with me. Use our secret weapon while he is being dragged by the Sea Kings. Frankie pushed his sunglasses, with a confident smile on his face. Secret weapon. Both Usopp and Brook looked suspiciously. Robin, Sanji, Zoro, Chopper, come and help too, let's get together. Fitness. Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper braved the golden light. Enel doesn't really know much about the Battle of Souls. But Brook has made bones for more than 50 years, and he has the ability of Wonquan fruit to know the soul very well. In the soul space, all materials can be manifested by consuming the power of the soul. The power of the soul, as long as it is voluntary, can be passed on to each other. Except for Luffy, everyone else entrusted their power to Frankie. Pieces of huge steel were manifested, and Frankie assembled all the materials, and a peculiar battleship quickly took shape. The size of the battleship is not large. It uses Wonquan fruit to connect Wonquan, and extracts the soul power of the entire Wonquan as a power source. Ancient weapon, Pluto. Frankie had seen the drawings of Hades and understood its structure. Because I didn't want to revive that terrifying weapon and lacked raw materials, I didn't build it. But under the special rules of the soul space, he successfully embodied it. The muzzle protrudes forward, and as the soul power gathers, the front of the muzzle emits a dazzling light. After Enel eliminated a Sea King, he sensed the danger here. Turn your head. Damn, what's going on? Where's the battleship from? Enel was taken aback. Boom. Hades fired. The gunner was Usopp, who hit him accurately even though Enel was moving fast. Rumbling. The huge impact tore apart countless tall buildings, and the dark sea set off huge waves. Under this terrifying high temperature, Enel's dragon scales tend to melt. Chapter 601 Lao Tzu's Journey is a Sea of Stars. Yoshi, hit him. Inside Hades, Usopp slapped the console. Wait, that guy isn't dead. What? This is the full blow of the ancient weapon Hades. Well done. The ancient weapon really scared me. Enel stood up from the ruins of the high-rise building, the large dragon scales shattered, and the blood kept flowing. The power of Pluto's blow is almost the same as the explosion of the gunpowder rock that was full of Dolores' warship. If it was the body of a dragon, Enel wouldn't take much damage. But now it's the soul that's being hit, so he's been hurt quite badly. The King of Heaven, the King of the Sea and the King of Pluto, I really underestimate the power of ancient weapons. Before you devour Ralph Drew, if you come here, it is indeed possible to kill me, but now, it is too late. Ah, ha 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 ha. Enel's body began to recover, and the injury recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. There was a hint of despair in Nami's eyes. How is it possible? Isn't it because his soul is weak? Is it his flaw? Weak, that's also relatively speaking. And I don't know what happened, his soul is also getting stronger. Sauron said solemnly. Enel was only exposed because of devouring Ralph Drew before, and as time went by, the power from devouring was almost digested. His soul itself does not have the ability to recover at a high speed, but when he strengthens himself with the power he devours, his own injuries will also recover during this strengthening process. I can't give up yet, absolutely defeat this guy. Even in the face of this desperate situation, Luffy still retained his fighting spirit. Everyone lend me your power. The souls of the Sea Kings began to dissipate, turning into a little light and converging on Luffy's body. Hades, along with Frankie and others, also integrated into Luffy. The intersection of souls is inherently irreversible, and when one soul merges into another, it means his death. But Brook used the power of the Yellow Spring Fruit to protect the souls of the Straw Hats, but only transmitted the power to Luffy. Afterwards, if you win, you can still separate. Luffy shone with golden light all over his body, and his body became bigger and bigger. The dragon's body was still running wild, and instinctively wanted to chase Luffy's body. Destroy the opponent from the. The Sea Kings followed one after another, forcibly building a line of defense with flesh and blood. The Whitebeard pirates and the Red Hair pirates also came to stop them. The Straw Hats are their last hope. Akainu, Fujitora, Aokiji and some other navies also came to help the Straw Hats. They don't want the world to be shrouded in the shadow of Enel in the future, this is the only chance. Although the hope is slim, they are also willing to gamble with their lives. The Navy, pirates, Sea Kings, and the Revolutionary Army have reached an unprecedented alliance. But no matter how many people came, facing Enel's dragon body was just a food delivery. Ace, Shanks, Sabo, they died under the sharp claws after only attracting a little attention for a while. Actually, it has nothing to do with sharpness at all. Killed like a bug. They're beating up the boss, shall we go over and help? Milo sat on the deck with a frivolous smile on his face. Burning. How did you tell it was a beating? It's just a man's arm as a car. Shiryu said lightly. If you want to die, we won't stop you. The captain will definitely fight with you. Cough cough, poison Q knocked out black blood. The huge black dragon began to transform, and the blue lines on its body gradually expanded. He completely absorbed the power of Ralph Drew. The unconscious dragon body is still wanton squandering that invincible power. Because of the skyrocketing strength, the space was smashed with a slap, and then he plunged into it. Akutagawa Huang. Milo. Carter. Meow. Vessi, where are you going? Ace and their sacrifices were not completely ineffective, and their souls also merged into Luffy's spiritual body. As if sensing something, Luffy's eyes filled with tears. Ace, Sabo, Shanks, I won't let you down. Luffy's soul body has soared to the size of a giant. Black and red lightning lingered on the arm extended back, and became even larger. The palm is clawed, which is Sabo's trick. At the same time, the raging flames ignited, which pinned the power of Ace. Luffy let us go. Luffy, come on. Down with him. The voices of his friends sounded in his heart, and Luffy's eyes became firmer. This is the last rubber flame dragon gun. Luffy shouted loudly. Hey Dragon Claws. Enel turned into a huge black dragon, wrapped in dark dragon claws, and attacked Luffy. Boom boom boom. The flames and thunder erupted, and on the other side, there was endless darkness. A terrifying explosion sounded, and the soul world was shaking. When the wave dissipated, a huge wound appeared in Luffy's soul body abdomen. It began to dissipate as a light spot. It's not bad, Luffy. Enel praised sincerely. The pressure of this battle on him even surpassed the battle with Ralph Drew. Enel also had a wound on his abdomen, but it was not as serious. And here is his home. The soul can be supplemented by the body, far from being fatal. When Enel regained consciousness and regained control of the dragon's body, the boundless starry sky caught his eye. Countless stars shine. How beautiful, Enel exclaimed. But where is this place? Is Lao Tzu's future journey the boundless sea of stars? Where's my cat? A few months later. In the Grand Hall, the Black Throne is carved with complicated and intricate decorations. Behind the back of the throne, a huge black dragon with wings roared up to the sky, and under its feet stepped a slender blue dragon with fins on its back. Under the throne, there are 2 rows of chairs, one for the surviving navy and one for the cadres of the Black Dragon pirates. Carter sat on the high throne. After the high-end power was almost swept away by Aenil, it formed a new world government. Lafayette said, "Now that everyone is here, let's start the meeting." The theme this time is about the re-establishment of world order. Regarding the content of the meeting, Carter's heart was not fluctuating, and he even wanted to eat fish. It is said to form the world government, but it is actually a mascot. The new leader of the Black Dragon pirates who was elected in order to continue their relationship. On the sea, the legend of One Piece continues. After the final battle, Ralph Drew disappeared. And the man who once boarded Ralph Drew and was still alive was called the Last One Piece by countless pirates. Captain Bucky, you really are a great person. The brain-dead fans cried with joy. In the past few months, they have been in tears at every turn. Mr. 3 seriously suspects that something is wrong with their lacrimal glands. Bucky is still mired in the grief of the loss of a friend. It looks more stable than before. And this has caused the Brain Remnants fans to make up their own minds. I'm thinking about big plans all the time. I'm really worthy of being Captain Bucky. It's the luck of my life to be your subordinate. End of the book.